First thing I see, what kind of climax? First thing I see, bro, it's called a literary one. Jesus Christ. No fucking awareness. A literary one, because it was a fucking play. That's the whole point. This is supposed to be like a script. The whole fucking point. It's supposed to be like a script. Oh my god, I'm so zoomed in. Oh, we're moving Chizuru. No, I want to move me. Okay, I'm moved. What's the W? What do you think the W is? Oh, right. There's nothing positive on your end, Wiz. I forgot. There's no joy with you. You're just, nah, it just sucks forever. Everything sucks forever. Sorry, I've been on and off on the streams lately. I think I'm getting burned out a bit. Me and Belver were talking about it earlier today. Just take a break. You don't need to do anything. It's okay. You don't even worry about it. We're not even really moderating anything at this point. I don't think I recall the last time you guys actually fucking blocked someone. So if you need a break, just don't worry about it, dude. I can take care of it. It's fine. It's not like we're a big streamer or anything. Just go take a break. It's cool. I don't mind. Okay. So let's just start the chapter. Episode. He actually looks cool here. Did he look this cool when we were watching season 4? He actually looks kind of cool here. I think Kozume Koga, the director, I think Kozume Koga, the director of season 5, did the storyboarding for this episode. It's funny how she literally called it. It's funny how she literally fucking called it. Yeah, Nagomi's gonna fucking hate us. Boom, Nagomi hates them. Chizuru called it. She was like on the mark. She literally like hit it on the fucking mark. And I think that goes to show Nagomi's kind of failure, you know, like that like she didn't really process this or understand it from Chizuru's perspective or anyone else's. And it shows she didn't really understand Sayuri all that well. You know, she was just purely looking at it from her friend's perspective, not from Sayuri's perspective. Oh. By being a beast. That's a good way to start the episode. Good idea. Good pacing. Not gonna lie. Good pacing. That's actually like a great way to start the episode. They've been starting the episode solid. Like the structure of how they're presenting and starting episodes has been very solid. Okay. Anatole. Wait. Correct me if I'm wrong. If there's a Japanese person who watches this later, correct me if I'm wrong. Is Nagomi speaking with a very not a personal tone? Like she's speaking like she's a stranger? I actually I gotta go ask some Japanese fans. I'm really curious because if that's true, because that's kind of what it sounded like I heard. Like I could be wrong. I could be wrong. I could just be fucking hearing things. But it sounded like Nagomi was speaking to Chizuru like she didn't know her. but she knew Sayuri, which I think would be Crumpy can't help with this because he doesn't speak Japanese. He just understands the writing, so Crumpy can't help with this. I'll have to ask a Japanese fan later. But if that's the case, that's brutal. Just acting like you don't fucking know someone, brutal. Yeah, and so when you see this, you're like, no shit, Chizuru is gonna freeze. No shit, Chizuru is gonna fucking freeze. What did you expect? She literally said she was terrified of it. She literally said she was fucking terrified of Nagomi looking at them this way, and then it literally happens. The one thing she's fucking scared of, and it literally happens. Okay, I still can't get over this. I still can't get over this. It's so bad. I still can't get over this. It's really not good. Right, it's a bit of a recappy thing. Jujutsu. The truth is we lied. Huh. I feel like they should have translated that a little bit differently, specifically because of how Kazuya words the line. The truth is we lied. And then the episode is literally going to flip a lie into a truth. So I think I'm not gonna lie, I think they failed as translators here. Low key. I think they low key failed as translators here. This is how you kind of lose some intent without realizing it, because you localized it. You were so busy localizing it that you failed to translate it in the intended way. The truth is that we lied. I find it fascinating that in this shot, I don't know if you guys can tell, in this shot, everyone is looking at Chizuru except for Mommy. How thematically fitting. Every single person is looking at Chizuru except for Mommy, who feels very certain she doesn't need to look. She can just keep looking down and holding her phone over her heart. She's literally holding a cold machine to her heart, pretending to have, literally she's covering her heart with a cold machine. She's covering up the warmth, she's covering up love with cold emptiness. One of the most important lines by Christmas Smile, Sayuri isn't here to stand up for her. As most victims are like this, you know? Oftentimes victims don't have advocates. They don't have people to listen. They don't have people who can speak up for them. They don't have people who can truly support them. And that's oftentimes how victims are used and abused, specifically because they don't have advocates. They're alone. And Chizuru is alone, the one person who could help her, and she's not here. This is where Kazuya, I believe, is truly being tested on what it means to protect someone, because now he's being placed. Before he could protect, he learned how to protect Chizuru through her own grief. You know, he learned how to protect someone when it's not about him. Here, he has to learn how to protect someone when it is about him. When it is about his pain, his suffering. So much of the current manga very much aligns with the current narrative structure of the story, where a lot of these characters have to contend with themselves. A lot of the story is about literally contending with yourself, whereas the movie arc is literally not about yourself. A lot of the movie arc is literally not about yourself, and the end of the movie arc introduces the idea of the self. In particular, in the dilemma that Kazuya introduces to Chizuru, tell Grandma Sayuri the truth. In introducing that idea, and Sayuri absolving Chizuru of the need for this dilemma, she's like, it's okay, I love you regardless. She helps her put her feelings first without needing to worry about the dilemma, because the dilemma doesn't matter in that moment. It's about Chizuru's feelings for Sayuri, the fact that she loves her. The dilemma is pointless. But the importance of the dilemma is not gone, in particular in the relevance of Chizuru still being alive, and the relevance of the people around her who are alive, in the relevance of Kazuya's character, Mami's character, and Ruka's character. And this is why them coming back is so thematically central. Because when you're introducing Ruka's character, for instance, this is Ruka having to really contend with herself. This is Ruka really having to look at herself for a fucking second and having to make a hard choice that is synonymous with love. You know, love requires some very hard fucking choices, and Ruka's gonna have to learn that in this episode. It's the same with Kazuya, whereas he could support her when it was not about him, when he could put himself to the side and do it because he really cared about this person. Here, he has to actually put himself front and center. He has to actually put himself front and center and confront the things that utterly fucking terrify him. That's why this is so important for Kazuya, and of course that aligns perfectly with Chizuru, who the story literally spells out to you. This is the thing she was utterly fucking terrified of. This is the one thing she was trying to avoid. She did not want this very particular thing to happen. And now that it has happened, she must confront it, and she must still make a hard choice. And so it's literally a flip of the entire sequence with Sayuri, where with Sayuri, she was absolved of this choice. It's okay. You can put your feelings of love first. That's ultimately what matters. Here, it's the flip. No, you can't just you're not going to be absolved of this choice. You have to make a choice. And it is not an easy choice. It is a painful choice. And it might require you to lie, because a lot of times lies help us protect ourselves. Lies help us protect the people that we care about. A lot of stories these days don't do a very good job of understanding this. That lies are important to protecting yourself and to protecting the people that you care about. And this is a big thing people don't understand about people who work jobs like Chizuru, to people who work sex work, why they lie. People are like, they just lied, period, therefore they're a bad person. Have you considered that if they don't lie, they're used and abused? A lot of the times in an industry and in a world that actively goes after these people. Here, Reiji is essentially forcing you to understand the importance of lying and why lying can protect something precious and why lying is rooted in love. I'm talking too much. We're going to get into this. That why lying can be rooted in love. Damn it, straight with the butt shot. Nagomi closes her eyes right as Chizuru is about to cry. Soka. Oh, she just gives up. Moi is very like, I give up. She says, you know what? Never mind. I don't care. That's kind of the vibe Nagomi gives. Is like, you know what? Never mind. I don't care. You know? And it's literally recreating the scene with Chizuru and Sayuri, but in reverse. It's just straight up the entire scene with Sayuri and Chizuru being recreated in reverse, whereas Chizuru didn't know what to do then and freezes up. Here, Chizuru again doesn't know what to do, but unlike Sayuri, who supports her, Nagomi gives up. Nagomi isn't Sayuri, and she'll never be Sayuri. She'll never replace her. And this is something Chizuru has to contend with, that this is not Sayuri, that you're not dealing with Sayuri. Again, you have to make a choice. And I think that's what Kazuya helps her do here as a parallel to the movie arc, a continuation of the movie arc. And in turn, because he sacrifices, she sacrifices and protects him, right? It's a flip. Before, he protected her, now she's protecting him. Or more rather, you know what? He tried to protect her and then she protected him, so they protect each other. Oh, the mommy smug. Yes, I heard. Okay, give me a sec. There's something going on in the background. Let me take care of it. So much for that. I have to try again in like 10 minutes or something. My mom let out the cat. And of course, I gotta go get him every time. 200% of the time. Whoa. Oh my god, it's playing the weird rock music again. Just the fucking rock solo again. Oh, the voice acting is really good. Oh, wow, they did. Yeah, okay. They did the crying quite good. Mommy doesn't know. So ultimately, Chizuru didn't lie. Oh. Oh. It's so fascinating how he's lying to his family, but every single thing he says is true. And this is the inversion of mommy, where mommy is telling everyone the truth, but she's lying. Every single thing Kazuya is saying is true. Every single thing he's saying is true, but he's lying to them. That's so cool. That's so he's literally lying to them. Every single thing he's saying is true, and he's lying to them. That's so fucking cool. I never even clocked that, because like I saw Briff say that like, oh, Kazuya lied to his family, but he was protecting a truth, a precious truth. But then I like actually pay attention to what Kazuya is doing, and I'm like, no, he's literally saying the truth. Every single thing he's saying is the truth. The only thing that wasn't real is that they started dating before Sayuri died. That's it. That's the only lie he tells. Everything else is true. Literally every single thing else he says is true. And the best part is the lie that he tells is technically correct. The lie that he tells is technically correct because they technically were dating. He's not lying, but he is. And that's fucking brilliant. Mommy is the reverse. Mommy is presenting a truth. Actually, you know what? I think both Kazuya and Mommy are technically doing the same thing. Mommy presents a truth and then twists it into a lie. Kazuya tells a lie, but he bases it on a truth. So everything they're saying is true, but one twists it negatively and one twists it positively. That's the difference, right? And then Chizuru has to choose which one she wants to be, right? And Chizuru chooses to lie, like to tell a full-on lie to protect the truth. She's a gentle soul. Oh wow, he's literally saying the correct stuff. He doesn't realize he's literally telling the truth. That's so cool. She kept it all secret from me. He's literally right. She did keep it all secret for him. That's the Mizuhara Chizuru I love. Interesting. That's the Mizuhara Chizuru I love. The cool one, the kind one, and what was the other thing he said? She's the pretty one, the cool one, the kind one. That's the one I came to love. Interesting. The pretty one, the kind one, the cool one. And Chizuru becomes that in this moment. She makes herself the cool, kind one. The pretty, cool, kind one. Interesting. It's presenting. Wow, that's so cool. He's presenting them his ideal and how he views her. And Chizuru becomes this in this moment. And what that does is thematically position Chizuru into being this amazing, perfect person that they want her to be. They demonized her so much, right? Mommy demonizes her. Kazuya idolizes her. That's how they present her, right? That's not who she is. That is how they present her, right? And Chizuru chooses the ideal in order to save the people that she cares about. Mommy kills it. No one like clocks. Yo, what the fuck? No one just goes, fuck. No one sees mommy here and just goes, the fuck? What the fuck's she doing here? The fuck is this? The fuck's this? What the fuck's she doing here? What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? What the fuck's she doing? Damn girl, what the fuck's she doing? I mean, like, and again, it's one of those things where it's like, she has a point, therefore they listen to her. Oh no, she has a point, therefore they listen to her. And now it's Ruka. Oh, that's so interesting. Ruka goes into a haunted mansion and doesn't get scared. This is contrasted by the movie when the Odaiba date. This is contrasted by the Odaiba date where Kazuya and Chizuru go into a haunted cabinet and Chizuru gets fucking terrified and she holds on to Kazuya. Whereas Ruka didn't get scared at all. That's so interesting. The universe was. I like that they're doing it in like this, which is a callback to Ruka's what is it? Ruka's ending song, where it's literally in gray. So literally she thinks she's defective. She's literally in gray constantly. The prince to bring color into my life. Wow, they're going hard for Ruka as usual. The anime is like incredibly biased towards Ruka. Let's not get it mixed up. Japanese fans love the shit out of Ruka, so naturally the anime is incredibly biased towards Ruka. But you are in love with someone. I like how this informs you why Ruka does all of these things. Why Ruka celebrates every little thing that seems utterly ridiculous to you. You're like, why the fuck would she celebrate this? Because she's anxious. She's constantly anxious. She's constantly scared that she's gonna lose this. It's meant to mirror Kazuya himself. The entire Ruka relationship is a direct reflection back at Kazuya how he himself feels with Chizuru. That Ruka can just lose him at any moment to Chizuru. She's utterly terrified of that. So naturally, just like Kazuya, she celebrates every little win, every possible moment she could possibly celebrate that seems utterly ridiculous to you, that seems really fucking stupid to you. She would celebrate because she needs to feel okay. It's anxiety. It's literally social anxiety that she's never gonna be enough. She's never gonna be able to perform. She's never gonna be able to live up to Chizuru. It's a fascinating thing where it's a double meaning, where Ruka has to contend with herself and what she feels. Where yeah, no, where okay, hold on, hold on, honey, honey, honey. like now this. Apologies for being away for so long. Look, a lot of bullshit just happened. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to watch some fucking anime. Bunch of fucking bullshit. Just understand I did not sleep very well. I'm tired and I'm angry and I feel powerless. And I don't like that feeling. I really don't like feeling powerless. It makes me very mad. Okay. So, Ruka, where were we? We were talking about Ruka. Let's see. Yeah, we're talking about how Ruka got anxious, and that's why Ruka does what she does. You know, it comes from a level of anxiety, but at the same time, she has to take responsibility of that anxiety and not let it control her. It can be expressed in really cute ways like this, where it's kind of adorable. Like, if you had a relationship and this person was constantly like, wanting to celebrate every little moment with you, that's really adorable. On the other hand, when she does the things that she does in Kazuya's place, that's not so adorable. Cute. They picked such a cute song for it. They picked such a cute fucking song for it. I like how she ignores everyone who's commenting on her, but she's just so busy being with Kazuya. She's kind of a mirror to Sumi. Sumi and Ruka are kind of like mirrors to each other because inverted mirrors. Sumi is so focused on how people see her. Ruka is so focused on how she's unseen and doesn't realize how people see her. Mm. They made her so cute. They made her look so cute. Huh. That's the part she admire. I have a problem. I have a problem. I have a problem. This Ruka still looks better than Chizuru's. Their bias is showing. Their bias is showing. It's showing so hard. It's showing so fucking hard. It looks so adorable. This is like they put like an effort and 100% in. These are Kana's eyes. This is the eyes Kana draws, bro. And then you go to Chizuru. You got a fucking Chizuru over here. Come on. It's No, there's so much better composition for the other one. This one is good too. This one is good too, but the other one just has better composition. The other one just has better composition. I'm sorry. They put stars and everything. They put stars and everything. That one just the Ruka one just has better composition. I'm gonna be real. Look at that. It does just look better. It does look a little more starry-eyed and mystified. I don't know. It just looks better. Let's see let's compare the manga versions really quick, just out of curiosity. Let's just compare the manga versions really quick. So this would be 224. Okay. and then 225. Wait, is this the... Wait, is this good quality? No, it's not. Make sure we got the good quality. Okay, credit where it's due. Ruka's has a bit more mistiness to it. Credit where it's due. Ruka has a bit more mistiness to it. Fine, devs. Fine, devs. You understood the mission a little bit better than me. Fine. You guys understood it better than me. You guys are paying better attention than me. Fair enough. Who am I to complain? You guys are paying more attention than me. Granted, I still think they put like a lot more effort into Ruka. I still do think in general they put a lot more effort into Ruka, but it's fine. It's fine. I was worried things would stay like this forever. How fitting. What's going on with Ruka right now? How fitting. What's going on with Ruka right now? Things are staying exactly like this forever. Oh my god, that's from Ruka's character song. How did I not clock it? Because I really, really love you. Hontoni, ski something, something. That's literally Ruka's character theme song. Oh my god. Okay. Wow. Reiji, considering Reiji wrote the lyrics, and it comes back full circle now. Peak. I don't know if they were doing an instrumental version of Ruka's song there, which if they were, that makes it even better. If they were doing an instrumental version of Ruka's song while that was playing, which I think they were. Give me a sec. I gotta check. I'm really curious now. I'm gonna check it. Music. Okay, it should be... I think they were. Okay, volume 3 is Ruka. Daisuki Damo. Okay. Oh my god, it is. Oh my god, it is. It's literally a re-instant. It's a remix. It's a remix of Ruka's theme. I think it is. I hear a lot of really similar notes. It's not like exactly the same, but it's like a different tempo. But it's literally they're remixing Ruka's theme song, and then at the very end, when it cuts back to Ruka, she literally says the iconic line from the song, "I really, really love you." Fuck. Oh, okay, dude. Damn. They kind of cooked with that one. Okay, mommy pulled up. Bullshit. Demonize. Let's double check the manga out of curiosity. Huh. She doesn't have the demon eyes here. Weird. She doesn't have the demon eyes when they reframe it from here. She just looks stone faced. Just stone faced. Yeah, less demon eyes in this one. That's a weird edit. That's a weird fucking edit. Okay, yeah, positioning Ruka in a crowd. Right, positioning Ruka in the crowd, which I think is quite fitting because she blends in. She's nothing but an observer when before she was part of the relationship. She's literally forced into Reiji, my goat. Reiji, my goat. How did I not clock this? She forced Kazuya and she forced everyone around her into an observer position because she was so afraid of being in the observer position, of something being out of her control. And thus, she unintentionally robs other people of control. And so, what happens to Ruka? She is literally placed in the position she was most terrified of in the entire story. Exactly like Chizuru, exactly like Kazuya. Placed in the one position she was most afraid of being in, an observer, unable to do anything, part of the crowd. That's literally the thing she was afraid of. She was afraid of just being an observer, being nothing more than part of the crowd, invisible because she's just like everyone else. Right? She became the thing she was most afraid of, becoming nothing. Right? Not being herself. Right? Not being special anymore. She literally didn't become. She lost the thing that made her special. Right? How ironic. She wanted to blend in so badly. She ultimately became part of the crowd. How ironic. She wanted to blend in so badly. She became part of the crowd. Damn. What's all this? What is going on? Their secret's out. His grandma and everyone else knows. His son's with her girlfriend. Ima, kokode! Okay, Ruka, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I just have to do nothing. Right? So tempted to just, I don't have to do anything. I can just let this happen. I'll get what I want. I have no reason to help them here. Right? I have no reason to help them here. I'll just get what I want. I mean, come on, this is what I've wanted this whole time. Why should I get to give it up? I need him more than Chizuru does. She's so sure she needs him more than Chizuru does. And yet she's perfectly fine on her own. She's so sure she needs him more. She's so certain she needs him more. And yet she's perfectly fine. She doesn't need him. It's their fault to begin with. They kept dragging it out and putting it off. She starts blaming everyone else for her problem. Right? Why should I help them? They dragged it out. It's their fault. It's all their problem. It's not my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. She's trying to justify to herself a decision she does not like. She's trying to justify to herself a decision she knows she will not like. Umme. She's literally feeling exactly what Kazuya felt at the start of the series. He was so sure Mommy was his soulmate. Everyone's so sure that the first person they fall in love with is going to be their soulmate. They're the one that's meant to be. It will work out. I will make it has to. This is fate. This is decreed. You are my special someone. There's no one else for me, right? It's the same thing Kazuya did at the start of the series. And yet, when you're so sure that this is the one, right? You're so sure this is the one, you become blind to the actual relationship, and maybe that they're not the one, and it's okay, right? If there's one advice I can give you about relationship, stop telling yourself this is the one, and they might just become that thing. Stop treating someone like they're the one, like they're your soulmate. Don't do that from the get-go. Be willing to see the reality of the situation, because if you do, they really might become your soulmate. Is this so bad that I wish you to be mine and mine alone? I'll do everything I can to make. She gives up. Flashback! I think the flashback was a bit overkill. That's like literally how it frames it. Does this like big effect. Wow! It's like she got hit with a truck. Like, Jesus Christ. Let me ask just one more thing. Why did you invite me along on this trip? I'm a pathological liar, and I'm always following those two around. Did she say that? Does Ruka actually call herself a pathological liar? Wait, that's interesting. Does Ruka actually call herself a pathological liar? Huh. That's surprising. I do like the subtlety of them, like, showing Chizuru reacting to Kazuya confessing to her. Right? They did show it in the anime too. That it was there in the anime, but like I liked it a little more in the manga, just a tad bit more so. Just like, holy fuck, holy fuck, holy fuck. She's like losing it. It's actually super cute. It's actually kind of cute. She's because you don't see her eyes. You see Kazuya's eyes, but you don't see Chizuru's eyes. And this is Chizuru reacting to Mommy saying kiss him. And she's like, fuck, 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 fuck. Like her heart's racing. Okay, so this is just a personal pet peeve. Personal pet peeve. I don't like how the anime depicts Nagomi. I don't like visually, just on a visual spectrum. I don't like how she looks. I think the anime just kind of makes her look like an old croak. The anime kind of makes Nagomi look like an old croak, whereas the manga makes her kind of look like dignified. You know, she's old, but there's a beauty to it. The anime kind of makes her look like a witch. The anime just has this like tendency to make her look like a witch, which is like this old crony witch. And it just doesn't fit. Just doesn't quite fit. I think Nagomi being like a little more dignified, literally wearing a crown, is symbolically more fitting. Like she literally looks like she's wearing a crown here. She looks a lot more dignified, an older lady who knows better. That's kind of what's important about the presentation of Nagomi's character. I think it thematically fits with the opening of season 4 as well, where like for example they depict Sumi as the Little Red Riding Hood, and then Grandma Nagomi shows up. Thematically kind of fitting. Okay, so yeah, we were checking if there's my compulsive lying as well. Okay, so compulsive lying. She has a tendency to lie. I'm sure you'd rather be talking to Chizuru. Even if I'm her friend, there's no need to invite me. This is the real problem. She thinks she doesn't belong. She's so desperate to belong that she ultimately belongs with the outsiders. With the observers, right? When you try so hard to make yourself belong, that you become an outsider to your own world, only to realize how you belonged here in the first place, and that you had a voice all along. You are loved. You are loved. Love is what saves us. That is literally the point. That is what saves Ruka here. Real love. Not the love she's romanticized in her head. Not the destiny she believes is the thing that is going to decide her future. Real love saves you. The fact that you are welcome, that you belong, that you are part of a family. That is what saves you. Real belonging and family. And Ruka realized that in this moment, that in letting Kazuya lose his family, lose everything around him, she would lose this too. She would lose the very belonging she claimed to want in her life in letting mommy do this, in doing nothing. She realized she would be sacrificing all the things that she claimed to want. She would sacrifice Kazuya, the thing she claims to want, for this. And so doing, Ruka in this moment realized she missed the point. In doing nothing, you have chosen to give up on love. You've missed the point. That's why her current story structure, that's why her current struggle in the narrative right now is literally, I want this, but I don't want to destroy Nagomi or Chizuru. I don't want to do that. And so she's stuck in a limbo. She ends up trapped forever. The thing she was utterly afraid of, the thing she didn't want to happen, is now happening to her. She's trapped in a forever limbo where she wants this relationship with Kazuya and she can't have it without destroying the thing that she knows she can't destroy. You are loved despite your flaws. She didn't say do it. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa, 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 whoa. All she said was Kazuya's name. She didn't say do it. In the translation, they have her say do it. Do it. Do it. Just fucking Palpatine. Do it. She didn't say do it. She just looks at him and she says his name. And that's a little bit more terrifying than do it. No. Aw, Ruka. She had it in her all along and even pissed mommy off. She had it in her all along. She is a good girl, okay? I know she does horrible things sometimes, but she's a good kid. I love how Reiji depicts characters, honestly. Like, I love that they can do genuinely bad fucking things. And they can also do genuinely wonderful things, too. Curry the goat supporting Ruka. Curry the goat. Right? It's funny. Kazuya empowers Chizuru. Ruka empowers Curry. What an interesting dynamic flip. What an interesting dynamic flip. Right? Curry was afraid to do anything. The moment Ruka spoke up, he got the courage to do it too. Oh, the goats. Okay, guys, tone it down. Guys, you were doing good. You're doing good. But you tone it down. No. They were doing good and then they fumbled. They were doing good and then they fumbled. Look at them fumble together. Look at these two idiots fumbling together. I'm sorry. I kind of would like to see them date. They would be kind of a cute pair, or at least be friends. I would at least like them to be friends. They would be kind of a funny pair. They're so dumb. They're both so dumb. Guys, please. Stay middle. And then they're gonna piss off Kibe. He's gonna be like, shut the fuck up. Oh, and then now we're having Kibe's flashback. See, I do have one slight issue here. I think there's just one tiny issue here. This structure, they're doing a good job presenting it. Like, they're doing a good job presenting it, and it's following the manga very, like, faithfully. But it almost doesn't work because of, like, how it's structured as an anime. You know, it's kind of hard to structure this in a way that, like, works for, like, it's still working. They're doing a good job with it. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying this structure just works much better for a manga, because basically the way it's presented is that every time you start the next chapter, you get a flashback that informs the character's choices in that moment. With Ruka being like a flipping exception, where what happens with Ruka, it's the opposite. Ruka, she gets a flashback that informs her current choices, and then she gets another flashback that makes her choice flip. And I think that, so Ruka acts as like a subversion of the flashback thing. Well, then you see Kibe get his flashback right after. So it comes off as just like, oh my god, it's flashback after flashback. We get it, you know? But in a manga structure, it just works better because, like, it's literally every time you go to the next chapter, it informs what this chapter is fundamentally about. So it doesn't work as well with this because it's like, it's all in one episode. It's all crammed into one episode. You know, if these were like all their own separate episodes, which is fucking impossible. If these were all their own separate episodes, this would be easier to like depict. But I think it's just really hard to like do this without fundamentally restructuring the whole thing. And I don't think they can. So they kind of structured it just how they could. But this is just something I want to point out. It feels like you're having just flashback after flashback. And it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, I get it. But in a manga structure, it just works better. Your third rejection. How are you still crying that much? This one you should give up on. We all try not to be hated, not to take things at face value, not to suck up too much, and not to leave awkward pauses. It's a never-ending cycle of trivial lies. That's the basis of human relationships. That's so sad. What a sad way to look at people. And not totally unrealistic. You know, what he's describing is not totally unrealistic. This does happen. Absolutely. Like, you can view Kibe as just purely like a really sad person here. But in reality, this is real. I think there's a tragedy here that's absolutely fucking real. There is something like this. A lot of people do act like this. They're too afraid of real intimacy and they weave these lies. But at the same time, maybe those lies are disguising something, you know? I'm not letting her sell me a bridge or whatever, okay? I want to believe in her because I like her. Kibe doesn't get it. I'm saying there's a limit realistically to how much you can trust a person. There's a limit to how much you can trust a person. And yet, you gotta wonder when you're not actually trusting someone and you're choosing to see the worst in them. Cheer up, I'll treat you to a beef bowl or whatever. Gummy. Watching you does make me feel like I want to be friends with believers. Because he's not a believer. He's given up. This informs Kibe's entire actions in the scene. He's given up. He's kind of given up on living. He's kind of given up on really seeing beautiful things in the world. He doesn't trust people. That's the tragedy of what Kibe truly inflicts on Kazuya in this scene. He makes him not trust people anymore. Look at these two fucking writing scripts. Look at these two fucking writing scripts. They're so fucking stupid. I love them. Shut the fuck up. Yeah. Wait. How does it look in the manga? He looks semi-intimidating here, but in the manga, I recall, holy fuck, Kibe, chill the hell out. Yeah. Yeah, in the manga, it's worse. Oh, look at Kibe in the manga. It's worse. He's literally blackened with anger. He is literally blackened with anger. Look at this man. Right? He is driven. He is blackened with rage. Right? No, this is I would have liked to see like something like this. You know? Like look at his eyes. They're so illuminated in light, but he himself is in shadow. I think that's so thematically fitting for Kibe's character. That his eyes are illuminated, he sees what they're doing, but he himself is in shadow. He doesn't see himself. He's literally blackened with anger. Okay. I don't want to be tricked anymore. Again, it's playing that like dramatic tension building music. It kind of reminds me of Persona. Yeah, the music kind of reminds me of Persona. It's like Persona, and then you just hear like this music. Like I'm gonna play it for you guys just so you can hear what I'm talking about. Like listen to this. Listen to this. まだ引き伸ばそうって腹積もりなら、それはもう俺の知ってる木下和也じゃねえ。Isn't this just fucking? Isn't it the fucking guitar solo? Isn't that just straight up Persona? Isn't that just straight up Persona? Just like I just dude, I just fucking summoned my Persona, dude. How fitting. Right? It's conveying this element of this is my truth. You know, it's conveying this element of like this is my truth, this is my justice, this is what I believe in. This is you know, this is the thing I believe to be the right thing, the real justice. And I think that's so interesting as a musical direction to choose for Kibe because that is what he's doing. That is what he believes he's doing. He thinks he is enacting a form of justice. She should just be as improved. I thought you were a moron countless times. I never thought you were a liar. Was I wrong? But we're all liars. Even you're lying right now. And you don't even realize it. You're enacting your own form of justice, not realizing you're lying to yourself. Oh. Wait, please put some sad piano strings, dude. Okay, not bad, not bad. I would have liked something a little different. The anime goes a little darker with it. He says, I want to die. The anime goes a little darker with it. He says, I want to die. Um, well, I think they translated it as that. I think he says, I want to disappear. Kie. I don't think, I think he says, I want to disappear. Let me double check. There's an easy way to check. Just give me a sec. I know he says, I want to disappear. In the fan translations, but let's see what he says in the official translations. If they're both the same, then it'll probably stay consistent. I just want to disappear. Yeah, it's the same. He's supposed to say, I want to disappear. Which, by the way, do you see the visual parallels? Can you guys see this? Gotta make sure you can see this. Yeah. Do you see the visual parallels? Kibe literally dragged Kazuya into the same exact position he was in. They literally look identical but inverted. Whereas Kibe is in shadow and his eyes are open, Kazuya is in light and his eyes are closed and he's crying. Right? Kibe tells people to shut up. He speaks out loud. Kazuya says internally, I want to disappear. Kibe literally told Kazuya to shut up and disappear. I don't think, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, I don't think they conveyed Kazuya's emotion or what Kibe inflicted on Kazuya in this scene very well. I'm gonna rewatch it just really quick just to make sure I'm not crazy. But I don't think they conveyed what Kibe did to Kazuya here very well. I don't think so. I don't think you really understood what Kibe just fucking did to him. Yeah, the music choice. Okay, so they do this like sound effect of like a breaking glass that just comes off as awkward. And they're playing a violin, a very sophisticated, very mature instrument that's conveying sincerity and genuineness. Insert guitar, makes him look cool, makes him look heroic, makes him seem very true to himself. They make him regret something they forced him to do, or in many ways pressured him to do. Ha! That's a cool misdirect. That's a cool misdirect. They just play the ending song. That's a cool misdirect. They just play the ending song. Oh, yep, it's over. We're fucked. That's it. We're fucked. It just plays the ending song. Right? It just plays the ending song. Oh, we're fucked. It's over. It just plays the... Okay, that's an interesting direction. It just plays the ending song. Be like, yep, we're fucked. It's over. Wow. And it's a white screen. I love that it's a white screen. They erased him. He's gone. He's literally gone. There's nothing there. It's just white. Kazuya's gone. They erased him. That's so... They actually used the white screen correctly. It's a blank canvas. There's nothing there. They erased him. He's gone. And then Chizuru's gonna bring back the colors. Yes! Okay. Awkward pausing. Oh my god. Sorry. Didn't mean to pause. Look at Kibe's face. Look at that big ass nose. Look at that big ass nose. Just chunky nose. Okay. Get wrecked, mommy. Oh, it's playing the opening. Or is it? No. This is the ending song. Kibe, you'll be my best friend no matter what. You hurt me so much and I still view you as my best friend. Damn, bro. Curry, can you believe this? Yo, my goat, Curry. Ruka must be fuming. That's what it sound like. The main one was then, now and forever. Boobies. Yeah, this is the ending song. My world will always revolve around you. Interesting. I like the silence. Good idea. Mommy's fuming. Oops, sorry, look at Kazuya. Oh my god! She just rocked his fucking world. The Chizuru just rocked his fucking world. I do like how my world revolves around you. Almost has almost been semi-bastardized in a sense. He literally lost his world, and all he has is the world that revolves around her. Ruka yells at Chizuru. Mommy gets mad as fuck. Oh, Hawaiians just ends next chapter or episode. Hawaiians just ends next chapter. Oh shit. Or episode. Next episode. It's just the end of Hawaiians. Shit. That man was in heaven. That man was on cloud 9. Yeah. That man was on cloud 9. He was somewhere else. He was somewhere else. Damn. Yeah, good episode for the most part. I like some of the misdirects. I like some of the directions. One thing I do like is in the teaser, they don't show the kiss. They're hyping it up. No. So next episode is like when they gotta rock this. You know, next episode they gotta make you feel the thunder. You know, they gotta make you feel the thunder of that kiss. That shit was like lightning. Okay, they felt that. Like they felt the electricity. Okay, like fucking Jesus Christ. No. There's a reason they did not show that. There's a reason they did not show that. Because next episode has to knock that out of the fucking park. They kind of have to. They need to make that kiss feel fucking electric, okay? There's a reason they don't show it, you know? Because next episode, it should look like this, okay? When we get to next episode, like, this is how it's gonna start, right? So we saw the hand, we saw the boobs, we saw the legs, we saw the big spread, right? We saw this. And then it shows you the kiss, right? We didn't fully see it, right? We saw it from like an angle where the kiss was covered, because remember, this is the angle. You don't actually see the kiss, right? She kissed him, but you don't actually quite see the kiss. It justifies Mommy's stance later that, oh, I didn't really see that. Do it again, right? Because literally the first time you see it, you don't actually see it. The second time you see it, holy shit. Oh, damn. Everyone reacts. Mommy's in fucking shock. And then you see it from another angle. I love that they show the girls here reacting. Look, I love this girl. This girl's great. She's like, whoa, what's going on there? Whoa, what's going on there? Oh, can you guys not see this? Oh, shit. Sorry. Yeah. So let's go back. That was my bad. Okay, so yeah. First time, you can't see it, right? First time, you can't really see it very well. You saw these shots. And then the second time, you clock it, right? The second time, oh shit. Oh damn. Everyone reacts. I love this girl. She's like, woo. Damn, that's hot as fuck. Then the multi-angles from the back. Close up to Kazuya. Close up on the lips. From Kazuya's POV. As Chizuru backs away. As the light comes back to his world. As he starts seeing everything around him again. And then look at they gotta do this. They gotta fucking do this. If they don't do this, I swear to God, if they don't do this, if they don't have Chizuru like getting her world fucking rocked right there, just like he is, I swear to God. And then Chizuru takes the center stage, and I think they nailed Kazuya's expression here. It's a little funnier in the manga. In the anime, she fucked him up a little differently. In the manga, in the anime, it's just like she took him to bed. In the anime, it felt like she just took him to bed. Here, he's just like, holy fuck, what did I just experience? Oh, there it is. Oh, okay, there's the other one. Okay, so I think this is the one they took inspiration from. Mommy's mad. They have her eye twitching in the anime, which is really funny. And then Kazuya's like off somewhere else, and she taps him. Hold on a minute. I couldn't really see that. Did you really do it? Chizuru? Challenge accepted. Turns around. Round 2. Fight. And I love that they're both in shadows this time. The first time they kissed, they were both illuminated in light. The second time they kissed, they're both in shadow. And I think it reflects like where they are. You know, they're both kind of like invisible to each other. You know, this is like an invisible kiss. They don't really fully see it. You know, the first kiss absolutely illuminated for everyone to see. The second kiss is more hidden. And I think that's really interesting. And then Mommy's just like, oh God. Oh no. Oh no. Oh god. So yeah. It should be interesting. I think the biggest thing they really have to knock out of the park is the kiss. Kazuya popped a tent in the second one. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. In fact, I will tell you right now, when you like someone, that is very common. Bro, when I kissed my girlfriend, whoop-boom, whoop-boom, shot into the stratosphere, my dude. Like, I'm surprised more animes don't do dudes just popping a willy. Are you kidding? When you first kiss the girl that you like, oh my god. Like, it's literally just a natural physical reaction. Okay, so would you guys like me to read the thing I wrote on Reddit? It's been some time. We've had some breathing room. I can read it. It's a really long thread, but I can read it. The first thing, I hate Kazuya. The first thing we see when we go to Reddit, I hate Kazuya. Oh, you think I wasn't gonna downvote that because I'm supposed to be objective? Fuck you. You think I'm not gonna downvote that? I'm gonna downvote that. I'm not even gonna give it a chance. Motherfucker can't even spell. Motherfucker can't even spell. Kazuya's guide to getting the girl. Tell her you regularly volunteer at a daycare. Tell her you brush your teeth like every day. But most dudes would do that. Also, why do you think you telling a girl that you go work at you volunteer at a daycare would get you time with her? That's not what a relationship's about. Where's my thing? Jesus Christ, the thong. Jesus Christ, that thong. Wait, what's this one? Oh. I thought it was something interesting. Damn, that was mean. Damn, that was mean. To me, it's not interesting. Maybe it's interesting. Damn, okay. I just gotta look it up, I guess. It's just been taken off the menu. Am I the only one that I think they drag the kiss, or do you think it's better? I like it the whole episode until the kiss. So I was explaining it when we were watching. It's because of how they structured it. Basically, the issue with the episode is that it's essentially following a manga structure rather than an anime structure, so it makes it feel like certain things drag when they didn't actually. The reason is because you start with a flashback, you cut back to current times, and then they do a lot of panning shots. They do a lot of odd panning shots where nothing happens, so it feels a little awkward. And then that's combined with multiple flashbacks from multiple different characters' perspectives as they come back to the same exact scene over and over, makes it feel oddly paced. Whereas if you read it in a manga, it makes a little more sense because in the manga, it's literally every time you get to a new chapter, there's a flashback that informs the actions the characters took in that singular moment. And that's why it works better in a manga structure. The pacing is just different. The anime is literally trying to use a manga pacing in its anime structure, and it's just not working. That's kind of the problem. That's why it feels like it dragged a little bit. It's literally just because of how the anime structured it. It's not actually like an issue with the presentation itself. Well, it is an issue with the presentation. It's not an issue with the actual writing. There we go. It's not an issue with the actual writing. It's an issue with the presentation and how it appears to us. While in the moment when it's happening and you're reading it weekly, it's actually structured perfectly fine. So this person seems to think that they were going to listen in the first place. See, this is the fundamental misunderstanding here. People think Nagomi was going to listen. She wasn't going to listen. Even if Kazuya had tried clearing up the lies, they wouldn't have listened. I made this mistake too. I had this understanding that they could be reasoned with. They can't. I had this understanding that Nagomi and Kibe could be reasoned with. I don't think so. I actually don't think they could have been reasoned with in that moment. And I think people just misunderstand that. They look like they're looking for reasoning. Kibe and Nagomi look like they're looking for reasoning. However, the fundamental actions that they are taking does not come from reasoning. It comes from bias and stigma. And that is the problem. You think Kazuya can just clear up the lies here. He can't. It's already been spun completely differently. And I think the best proof of this is Ruka and Curry. As Curry literally says, everyone, let's calm down. No one is thinking straight right now, which is literally a real accurate statement to make. Kibe tells them to shut up and no, we're going to do it this way. So had Kazuya actually tried to clear it up, it wouldn't have worked. Had Kazuya actually tried to clear it up, it would not have worked. And that is the fundamental misunderstanding here. They force the characters to lie. It is literally a callback to the very beginning of the series and how they literally forced Kazuya to lie in many ways. They pressured him into lying. And they don't see their part in that. That is the point of this episode. That is the whole fucking point. So Mommy's challenge actually saved them. I think it's not simply Mommy's challenge. Mommy merely opened the gateway. What actually saved them was Kazuya's choice to say what he said. That was step one. Mommy's challenge thinks she made things worse, right? She thinks, oh, they're not going to do it. They can't do it. Ruka and Curry stepping in, and then Kibe's final challenge is ironically what saves them. I think Ruka stepping in and essentially giving Chizuru a kind of leeway to do this actually helped. I think basically Chizuru just needed a lot of support, and getting that support from Curry and Ruka was kind of the last push she needed. I think the Ruka chapter is a lot more central than you realize. Ruka had a lot more influence than you might realize. Because while Kazuya confessed and he gave her the boost from the back, I think they were both still quite scared and not quite ready yet. And so when Ruka stepped in and said, they're dating okay, it's fine, Chizuru essentially got that leeway, that okay, essentially, to go through with it. And I think that's the sad part, is like, you think you can reason your way out of this. That is the problem. The problem is, the misunderstanding of this scene is, to us as Americans, to us as Westerners, you think you can reason your way out of this if you just calm everyone down. There's a crucial mistake you're making that Reiji very much accounts for. You can't. Because when people are angry in that moment, they cannot be reasoned with. Nagomi only stops after, and even after Chizuru talks to her and explains everything, Kazuya is still blamed. Nagomi doesn't apologize for what she did to him. Did you notice that? Even after everything, Kazuya is still blamed. Nagomi doesn't apologize. Kibe doesn't apologize. No one apologizes to him. They apologize to Chizuru. Not to him. He could tell that everything that she did was because of her grandmother, and that her grandmother even said that she didn't need to say anything, and they would say it doesn't matter. Oh, so you did this all for me. I didn't ask you to do this. That doesn't justify your behavior. Do you see how there's an instant counter? He could say that he kept telling the truth because he loves her and he want to be close even by the way, and that's the first that she needs to show her from to her grandmother, and after that she only did to help him that tell the truth to everyone. Except you still didn't tell her when she died. Do you see how your argument falls apart incredibly? Like, I doubt this person's watching this, but do you see how that argument falls apart immediately when you just say, oh, well, she tried to do that. You still didn't tell her when she died. They won't care. That's the problem. You're trying to reason with someone who is not looking at this. It's not rage baiting. No. He's making a valid argument. I disagree with his stance, but he's making an argument that I think comes from a place of earnestness. He hates Kazuya because he thinks Kazuya is just lying for the lying's sake, and he's stupid and he should just tell the truth. What he doesn't fundamentally understand is that you can't always tell the truth. That's not how the world works. You can't always tell the truth. Because sometimes someone isn't willing to listen to the truth. You can say it all you want. It doesn't matter if they're not willing to listen. And Nagomi and Kibe showed they're not willing to listen. Kibe literally did not wait for Kazuya to answer. He punched him. Kazuya tried to tell them his side of the story, and they're like, you're just lying. And then they see him crying on the floor and saying all of this, and they're like, okay, well, he clearly, they don't cross their mind. Maybe he's actually feeling something here. Instead of just being like, okay, why are you saying this? Right? Because the truth isn't foolproof. Exactly. And that's the thing is, the truth in this instance has no proof. The truth in this instance has no proof. There's no one to actually physically back it up. It is hearsay. This entire conversation is purely hearsay. It is built fundamentally around their trust of Kazuya. Everything Kibe and Nagomi does is fundamentally built around their trust of Kazuya, and they actively tell him, I don't trust you. You lied to me. I don't trust you. So no matter what he says, they're not going to listen unless they see physical proof. They need physical proof. They don't trust them. Okay? They don't trust these characters. Period. And I think what this person doesn't understand is that when trust is broken like this, it becomes really, really hard to tell someone, I'm telling you the truth right now. You know, it becomes really hard to tell someone, I'm telling you the truth right now, even if what you're saying sounds real. And the last thing that I disagree with when it comes to this person, that the final thing I think he's missing the point of, is that Kazuya is at a point where he feels very, very powerless. He's not accounting for Kazuya's mental anguish. Kazuya is suffering a great deal of mental anguish right here, and this person is not accounting for that. And I think a lot of people aren't. A lot of people in this scene, when they're watching this scene, they're not accounting for Kazuya's mental anguish, you know? They're not accounting for what Kazuya is really going through right now. And you really have to pay attention to last episode, that he was falling apart. He was cracking, and Mami actively robs him of his voice, right? The moment Kazuya says something, Mami immediately robs him of his voice. Everyone's actively robbing him of his voice. He literally feels powerless in a scene where everyone is trying to tell him he's not worth it, he's a terrible person, and he's a liar. So literally, Kazuya feels powerless. He feels like he can't do anything. He's desperate, and he doesn't know what to do. And he doesn't know how to tell them the truth because they've made it clear they're not willing to listen to it. Because what do? They listen to Mami. They actively convey to them, I'm not listening to you. I think that's a scene this person's fundamentally misunderstanding. I think if they had tried to explain, they wouldn't have listened. Only after they kissed does Nagomi calm the fuck down and say, you know what, I need to listen to you. And please explain to me so I can understand. Only then does Nagomi calm the fuck down. And I think that's meant to be a perfect reflection of how people interact with sex workers. It's literally like this. The moment they hear someone is a sex worker or a rental girlfriend or any job that has a form of stigma like that around it, you don't listen anymore. You're done listening. You mentally check the fuck out. Your bias kicks in, and you don't care what this person has to say. They have looked a certain way to you now, and you will not change your mind unless you see physical proof that they are not this thing. And a lot of times, unfortunately, sex workers do not get that privilege, so they must lie. They have to lie in order to protect themselves. I think people just don't understand that. This is why sex workers lie. They need to protect themselves. Because unfortunately, the moment someone hears this, checks out. I'm not listening to you anymore. You're a bad person. You are the stigma that I see. I'm going to look at you with my own confirmation bias. I'm going to judge you. I'm going to be angry at you, and I'm done listening to you. And so no matter what you say, they will not listen. Every single fucking time. That is literally a cultural thing Reiji is exploring. And I think a lot of people are just not clocking these things. This is why this is what I talk about in my abuse thing. This disparity between the underprivileged, the people who don't have these privileges, the people who are robbed of autonomy in a world that actively robs them of autonomy, and they're literally not heard and not seen. The entire visual structure of this arc is literally how Kazuya is invisible. The entire visual structure of this arc, and for Chizuru as well, is how these characters are literally invisible. They are unseen by people. We wrote this entire analysis earlier. I wrote this entire analysis about how people feel invisible. And I think now is a perfect time to read it when we're talking about this. Have you ever felt invisible, unseen? You walk with friends and family, and it feels like you're just a third wheel in your own group. Oh, look, aligns perfectly with Ruka. Ruka literally describes herself as a third wheel in the family group. She doesn't belong. She's unseen. Like, none of it's real. Like, you don't belong. Rent-A-Girlfriend is about seeing those who are invisible. Ironic, few see it. The latest episode depicts an infamous chapter, 218, a chapter notorious in the anime manga fandom, and yet it perfectly captures how love dies. It makes you feel sick, it makes Kazuya a joke, and it even hurts the image of the characters. That's the point. How we see things shapes reality. Kazuya becomes invisible here. No one sees him, not even the viewers. People hate him for imagining these things. They think he's a terrible person, not realizing he feels this exact way about himself. You can definitely directly apply this to the lies, that Kazuya is unseen and that his truth is invisible to them. No matter what truth he may share with them, only he and Chizuru experience this truth, and they will never understand. They will never see Kazuya's truth because he's already invisible to them. They're literally not paying attention to him already. What do you think? Why do you think they're going to listen to him? They literally forced him to lie. They put him in a position to lie because they never listened to his truth. Every time he's tried to tell them the truth, they don't listen to it. So why the fuck do you think that when Kazuya and everyone is turning on him and Chizuru, do you think they're going to fucking listen to what he has to say? Okay? Not realizing he feels this exact way about himself, a guy who just wishes to be seen and is instead seen for what he is not, a bad person. Kazuya no longer appears virtuous to the readers. His image is tainted. Chizuru's image is tainted, even though this is not the real her. But you can't unsee it anymore, right? It's burned into your memory. It's horrible. And yet, isn't how we choose to see something up to us? Is something defined by how they appear, their mistakes, how they reacted, or what they actually did. Kazuya's family makes these exact assumptions when finding out that Chizuru is a rental girlfriend, not because they were lied to, but because deep down they didn't believe it. Yes, yet how does Kazuya react in response? He protects, he sacrifices. No one sees this though. They see a pathetic loser, a liar, a bad person. They erase him as the viewers do. No one sees Kazuya except for Chizuru, who protects him. Yet, she too is unseen, but through her love. Chizuru's love is unseen and questioned, even in the manga. All people see is her identity, in particular the identity of the prostitute, thus erasing her love. All people see is Kazuya's love, thus erasing his identity. So they literally can't see each other even when trying to. Chizuru can't see Kazuya and vice versa. In the end of Hawaiians, only they could see each other in that moment. But it was a glimmer, a light Chizuru feels unworthy of, and a darkness Kazuya turns away from in favor of the light of hope. It saddens me that such a beautiful story remains unseen by so many. It illuminates so much of the dark parts of our world, yet still tells us to keep dreaming, to look at the devastating reality in the face and still choose to believe. See the invisible, do the impossible. Yes, by the way, many straight-up references Gurren Lagann. The latest episode is still considered divisive to many people, and they say it shouldn't have been made. I think it should have, because it perfectly captures how love is destroyed and why even then we must keep fighting for it, revive it from the dead because it keeps us alive. This episode needed to be made. Chapter 218 needed to be made because it fundamentally captures the idea of those invisible people and how it taints your image of love. How you perceive this story has tainted your perspective of its storytelling and thus the love that it's talking about. You don't see these characters just as they feel unseen by the people around them. That is the point. The characters are quite literally invisible. In a unique way that's inoffensive, it still captures the idea of invisibility. I think the biggest. So where is it? Right here. I think this is one of the anime. I think this one thing the anime uses well, creatively incorporating the chapter's idea of debauchery and depravity that is instilled into a lot of us through social media, and how it tears love apart, how love dies when we are unseen by our loved ones and disappear. In the things Kazuya is imagining, he's literally invisible to his loved ones. No one sees him. He disappears. Chizuru is the opposite in that sense. Chizuru is a flipped opposite of that regard, because Chizuru is seen by everyone, yet no one sees her love. Not a single person in this scene sees Chizuru's love, right? It's, where is it? It's right around here. Kazuya and Chizuru are reversed mirrors here. Chizuru is invisible because she is the center of attention. Thus, no one sees who she really is. They just see the surface. They don't see her love. They see how she appears. Just the sexy girl on the outside, while no one sees Kazuya in the shadows. A back note everyone claims to love while ignoring. To me, this shows an awareness from the storyboard and direction that knows who needs to be the focus. What the final shot of everything seeing the phone being slow and uncomfortable paced by design. Everyone freezes in shock as we do. They're seeing chapter 218 and saying, what did I just see? The image of the characters is now shattered at the end of the episode, as it was shattered in the beginning, as Chizuru looks at Kazuya in shock, as if alluding to the fact that she just saw what we did, and Kazuya and her will be hated now by everyone. Mommy did all of this. The episode is exactly how we perceive and see others, how judgmental and blind we are to each other, how Kazuya literally does not see Mommy and she does not see him. She stands behind him as he looks at us, and she is literally invisible to him as he is invisible to her. Our perception literally blinds us to the reality in front of us. How we do not see Kazuya for who he is, but rather who we think he is. And Mommy does this to him in the end, as she did with the rejection. Right? An ironic writing technique, because when pressure is applied to characters, you see who they really are. And this is when both Kazuya and Chizuru show who they really are. And in contrast, you see who Nagomi and Kibe really are. People who really believe in justice and right and wrong, and yet enforce it in terrible ways by hurting their loved ones. They claim to love, and yet they hurt their loved ones in their judgment. That is what this chapter shows. It shows a complicated, messy dynamic where the people who are trying to do the right thing are in fact doing the wrong thing, and the people who look like they're doing the wrong thing are in fact doing the right thing. And you don't know which is which. You can't tell. You're so blind by your perception of what you think is happening that you've fundamentally missed the point. Yeah, so that's why this person's argument doesn't really hold. They don't know all this. No, I think no, you don't understand this scene. He has to lie so she wasn't lying to her grandma to her death. Exactly. He has to lie that they were dating so that she wouldn't be lying to her grandma at death. That's literally the point. That's the exact point. He has to lie so she isn't lying. And Kibe is like, are you really going to do this? And he's like, fucking hell, yes, I am. Fuck all of you. Like the stigma on people who do OnlyFans too. Exactly. Here, fuck it. Let's just read what I wrote. Abuse. Okay. A bunch of people are talking about their own stuff, so I'm just gonna pull up my account, and it should be right there. Oh god. Oh god, it's all the responses. Okay, there we go. Let's just go to the thing. Now, I did write some other stuff to the side, so let me pull it up over here. There's some expansions I wanted to add to this thing, so you guys will only get the expansions. They see him as pathetic, but not terrible. No, they're starting to see him as terrible. They're starting to see him as terrible. No. They are starting to see him as terrible. For sure. They 100% are. Like that was the whole idea, is that they started seeing him as a terrible person and they made him regret everything that they in many ways pushed him into doing. They created all of this and they made him regret it. Okay, there we go. Let's highlight this. So I saw a post talking about how so many, well, Rent a Girlfriend and how abuse destroys communication and love. I saw a post talking about how so many of the problems of the story would be solved if Chizuru and Kazuya just communicated. This was in particular in reference to Hawaiians or Paradise. I was here when this arc was releasing weekly, and it was so interesting how so many people were frustrated because all they saw was a lack of communication trope. The story getting dragged and issues that could easily be resolved if the characters talked. And what was interesting to me was how the argument, without meaning to, was so devoid of understanding of the characters. Not because you're dumb or you didn't really understand them, but because you weren't really paying attention to what was actually happening to them and how that informs their lack of communication. In particular, Chizuru and how she was being abused. I intentionally used this particular image of mommy here because fucking Christ, look at this girl. She's like a goddamn demon. She's like a goddamn demon. Look at this girl. And I don't mean the, oh no, she was secretly abused as Nagomi frames it. Because remember, Nagomi secretly thought Chizuru was being abused and she was listening to mommy and she's like, oh no, Chizuru, ooh. Right? I literally mean mommy was abusing Chizuru the whole time and using the fact that she's also a girl to disguise the fact from Nagomi and Kazuya, who in their blind perceptions couldn't see the abuser in front of them just because she was a girl. Ironic considering how Nagomi ultimately projects her perception of women are liars onto Chizuru, the victim, and not mommy, the abuser. All because one cried and one smiled. But okay, let's get into it. First off, you're not wrong. There is a communication trope here. What you all don't see is how, in many ways, this is an homage to communication tropes and rather an exploration of what their actual intent is. Not how it is often used in modern day, where it just kind of exists with no real purpose other than just to keep the story going or drama or just to be funny. You know, there is a trope here. Absolutely. Reiji is literally using the bad communication trope, except he's literally like, why does bad communication exist? Right? Reiji absolutely uses tropes, criticizes them, and pays homage to them. He does all three at once. That's how Reiji writes. Reiji does not write with a very singular way. He writes with a multifaceted way that has multiple meanings. For instance, Mami is both a victim and she's victimizing herself. Both are true. Kazuya is both a victim of trauma and abuse, and in many ways, he is kind of victimizing himself. They need to take accountability for these things, and they need help. Both are true. You can't overcome trauma on your own, but you can start taking accountability for your trauma and what it makes you do. Both are true. I think that's absolutely true. And I think a lot of us tend to lean one way or the other, when in reality, both are true. And I think that's a problem I think a lot of people misunderstand. Even when I'm talking about it to you guys, I'm pointing out, for instance, Kazuya's mistakes, and people immediately defend him. And I'm just like, okay, but I'm not saying it's indefensible. I'm not saying what Kazuya is doing is indefensible. I'm saying it comes from a place of trauma, but there comes a point where your trauma is so destructive that you have to take accountability for your actions and not let it just control you. I'm not saying, you know, you shouldn't have trauma. That's not how it works. Your trauma is not going to go the fuck away. It's not going to just poof out of fucking existence. I'm just saying there comes a point where you have to take autonomy over your trauma and open up to other people and try to mitigate it and address the fact that you're feeling this way. Be honest with yourself. Try to face some of these things. Yes, you have trauma, and that's not the issue. The issue is what you're letting trauma make you do. And that's the issue with mommy. That's essentially the issue with mommy. She's letting trauma, she's using trauma as a justification for what she's doing. She's letting her trauma control her and do these bad things. However, at the same time, she's shaped by her environment. She doesn't know how to act differently. She's literally been conditioned to be this way. She doesn't know how to be better. So could you really say it's fully mommy's fault? No. But there is a part of it that's absolutely her fucking fault. because what she did was horrible and she hurt people. You can't just say, "Oh, I feel trauma. That's my issue." It's literally exactly what Invincible does with Nolan. Nolan's upbringing in Invincible being from this like fucking what do we call them? Fucking space Nazis. That's pretty much what they are. They're just fucking space Nazis. Nolan being brought up in that environment is no justification for calling his wife a pet or for killing 2,000 people. That's no justification for that. That can only be an excuse for so long. And that's why the show, especially in season 4, refuses to give him an out whenever he starts doing good deeds. It's literally saying, okay, you being physically strong and using your strength to help other people does not remove your sins. That's not how it fucking works. You being brought up in this environment and being traumatized by this environment and being shaped into this bad person does not excuse what you fucking did. That's no excuse. You will not get absolution from this. You have to fucking earn it. And when he says forgiveness has to be earned, he wants to be forgiven. Much of the ending of season 4 that's so brilliant is that Nolan just desperately is like searching for any fucking crumbs of forgiveness. Please forgive me for something. And no one is giving him that because he doesn't deserve it. He has not fucking earned it. He's not going to just get absolution. He's not going to, if you guys don't know what absolution is, it's basically being freed from the guilt of the crime. That's essentially what absolution is, just being freed from the guilt of the crime. You're not going to just get that. You don't just get that. You have to work towards it. Okay? And the thing is that with Nolan, that's the brilliant part of his character writing, and that's the thing that mirrors Mommy. It's like, yeah, you had a horrible upbringing. You had a horrible environment. You didn't know how to change. It does not justify your behavior. That's not fucking okay. Get the fuck out. Okay? You have to learn to be better. Okay. So, sorry. Let's continue with this. Think of it like this. Chizuru just lost her last living relative. Umi was on her case about something that visibly bothered her enough for Kazuya to notice. So Kazuya noticed Umi was bothering her. Umi is a problem. Mommy was scheming in the background. I think I said that's scheming, right? Did I write scheming wrong? I think I wrote scheming wrong. And Kazuya was in denial about it. He keeps getting evidence that Mommy is doing something sus, and he keeps buying her nonsense when she is targeting him. And only Chizuru knows this, which in of itself is a misdirect, as Chizuru is her real target, not Kazuya, right? Mommy, we have the element of foresight where we kind of have an idea Chizuru is her target based on the past, but we don't know what she's gonna do, you know? So what Reishi does is reframe it in a way where Chizuru doesn't realize she's the victim here. She's trying to help anyone she can, and she's trying to protect people so much, she doesn't realize she's Mommy's victim. She doesn't know Mommy is doing this to her, and Chizuru actively tries to reframe her abuse in a way that, like, oh, I'm the bad person. And she doesn't realize this is happening here. This is why I can't fully blame Chizuru here when it comes to Mommy. What Mommy is saying is wrong. She's abusing her, but Chizuru kind of can't tell because she's never been in a position of being abused like this. Not like this. So, and I think there's a scene that perfectly captures it that I think a lot of people fundamentally misunderstand. So let me pull it up really quick. It's the scene where Mommy is showing her phone to Nagomi. Chizuru runs up to her. She's freaking the fuck out. And Kazuya clocks that Chizuru is fucking scared. She's like, whoa, what the fuck? Right? So, it's right here. They run into Mommy. Mommy is showing her phone to Nagomi. Kazuya freaks. Chizuru starts running. Even Kazuya's like, whoa, what the fuck? Whoa, what the fuck's going on? Turns out, it's nothing. It was a bait and switch. Mommy did this on purpose. So what happens here is very simple. This is literally toying with your perception of safety. Oh, I'm not going to do it. But they trick you into thinking that they're going to do it. And what does this do? It makes you feel like you're a bad person. Right? When they toy with your perception of, I'm going to do it, but then they don't do it, they're like, you get tricked into thinking, oh, I assume they're a bad person. I'm terrible for thinking this way. It's literally an abuser tactic. This is what they'll do. They'll do the thing you think they're doing, and then you'll get to them and they're not doing it. And it fucks with you. You're like, I guess they weren't actually going to do it. I assumed they were going to do it. I'm a terrible person for assuming. How fitting, considering what does Kazuya's family do to Chizuru and Kazuya? They assume. Right, of course. I knew she said that, but that doesn't mean I can just decide she's trying to destroy everything. I'm so awful. I can't just go around downing people. What would Grandma think? She literally got manipulated, and Mommy used and weaponized Chizuru's grief against her. And Chizuru doesn't know this is happening to her. Chizuru doesn't clock this because she's never been abused. She's never been in that position. She's always protected herself. She's never been this vulnerable. She's really, really vulnerable. And she doesn't know this abuse because she's starting to open up to people, and her vulnerability is literally being abused. Right? Chizuru would usually like clock this and be guarded around Mommy, much more guarded than this. But Mommy is literally using Chizuru's vulnerability against her. She's using her love against her. She's weaponizing it. She frames Chizuru as Kazuya's victim in this scenario, when in reality, she is Mommy's victim in this very moment. And in doing so, it makes Chizuru feel guilty and like she's an abuser whenever she does anything even remotely out of bounds, like standing up for Kazuya or taking the ring or literally assuming Mommy was going to do something. And every time Mommy reframes it, it frames her as though he wasn't using her, she was using him. It frames her as though she assumed the worst in Mommy's character. It frames her as though she took advantage of these people when they forced a lot of these things on her. It frames her as though she broke the rules after all. She isn't professional. She could be fired for this. This is how rules can actually turn against victims, and the very laws and structure we created marginalize and pigeonhole victims because rules can be so rigid. It creates room for abuse, much like how rigid beliefs lead to people being abused, and we don't see it as abuse because we're so sure we're right. Literally, Kazuya's family's beliefs are so rigid that it leads to Chizuru being abused, and they're the ones abusing her, and they don't even clock it. Mommy literally tells her, "Are you in love with him, huh? It kind of seems like you're in love with him." Suddenly, Chizuru isn't allowed to be in love with him anymore, and she backs up and gets scared. Suddenly, some of Chizuru's running away is somewhat informed, right? Initially, she ran away because Kazuya got her when she was really vulnerable. And then Mommy starts abusing that vulnerability, starts scaring her some more, so she starts running more. Do you see why Chizuru was running? Yes, Chizuru was running, and she had to take responsibility for the fact that she was running away for some degree. On another hand, Mommy was pushing her into running away. Mommy was abusing her vulnerability, her care, and how much she cared, and literally pulling her away. So this means Chizuru is in the wrong because she's not following the terms of service, right? But this is exactly where we must let go of rules and work outside of them. Chizuru is a character that needs structure. She is someone who needs intellectual stability because without it, she's emotionally falls apart. Just look at how she compartmentalizes her job, school, and acting. Chizuru struggles with emotions and wants to believe, whereas Kazuya struggles with knowledge but has a lot of emotional intelligence. Life is a balance of both. When one falls apart, so does the other. And Mommy uses that every chance she gets, physically pushing Chizuru against the wall with words and logic that make sense and intellectually but not emotionally. So here's a good example of what I'm talking about here. I think it's like 209 or 210. I think it should be 209. No, it's 208 then. Oh, this is not clean. We need the clean version. Right, so what does Mommy do? Mommy comes up to Chizuru in the bathroom. So what is the bathroom if not a place of privacy? No one's going to fucking attack you in the bathroom. That's why someone getting attacked in the bathroom is so fucking scary. If this is a place of privacy, you should kind of feel safe here. And Mommy literally abuses the restroom, right? She literally abuses the restroom. the place of comfortability where no one should bother you, mommy intentionally attacks Chizuru in the restroom, where she is most vulnerable. She's literally abusing her vulnerability. What does she do? Chizuru-san, what on earth are you doing? She proceeds to pressure her. She starts yelling at her, and look at Chizuru literally get pushed against the wall. Look at Chizuru literally get pushed against the wall as mommy keeps yelling at her and pressuring her more and more and more, until look at Chizuru at the wall, holding her hand, saying, I'm so sorry. Mommy is abusing Chizuru's vulnerability. You're probably like, why is Chizuru acting like this? She's very vulnerable. Her grandma just died. She wants to open up and emotionally connect to people. She's not cut off. Chizuru is not cut off. She's very emotionally vulnerable, and she's really young in this instance, emotionally wise. Chizuru's emotional intelligence in this moment is very vulnerable and kind of raw, and she's just kind of learning how to connect to people, and mommy's using that. Don't you feel guilty about deceiving everyone? Of course she fucking does. She feels horrible. And mommy just keeps using that. And just constantly pushing her. He's just a client, right? And look at Chizuru. She's falling apart. And she has to just say he's just a client. So mommy starts dragging her around. Right? Chizuru literally feels powerless. Getting dragged around and everything. Chizuru doesn't know how to fucking do. And mommy keeps swapping between being intimidating and being smiles and happy. Emotional intelligence doesn't get vulnerability. What? Yes, it does. You can be emotionally vulnerable because your emotional intelligence is a little low. Because it's not the same as it used to be. Chizuru used to have high intelligence and kind of like decent emotional intelligence. And now it's literally like being abused. So her emotional intelligence is lower because she's never been in a relationship like this. In that sense, Chizuru's emotional intelligence when it comes to brand new family is low. She has emotional intelligence when it comes to empathy, but she doesn't have emotional intelligence when it comes to family. Because she never had a family quite like this. She's never had a traditional family. So when it comes to emotional intelligence, when it comes to family, she's very vulnerable. When it comes to love, like romantic love, Chizuru is very vulnerable, specifically because she doesn't have emotional intelligence when it comes to romance, like real romance and real familial love. Because she kind of had that with her grandmother, but not like this, not with this kind of family. That's why it doesn't work. Give me a sec, let me turn on the lights. So yes, she does. Emotional intelligence can absolutely have vulnerability. She just doesn't know how to communicate her feelings. No, it's really not that simple. It's really not that simple. It's not that she just doesn't know how to communicate her feelings. It's that she wants to communicate her feelings and she's being forced to communicate them in a very, very specific way. Instead of just being allowed to say them. She's literally not being allowed to communicate the feelings as she wants to because of the rules. All these rules are stopping her from communicating how she wants to because of these rigid rules that are being presented to her, right? Kazuya has to confess in a certain way. She can't give back the ring. She can't communicate to Nagomi everything because, well, she lied to her. She's not allowed to. She can't tell, like literally you see it perfectly with Harumi, where when she's with Harumi, she literally can't tell Harumi everything. Right? She wants to tell her everything. She wants to say so much to her, and she feels like she's not allowed to, specifically because she couldn't give back the ring. It's specifically because she couldn't give back the ring. Because she couldn't give back the ring, she couldn't emotionally communicate with Harumi. Where is it? It's chapter 206, I think. There it is. Right? Specifically because she couldn't give back the ring, she couldn't communicate with Harumi. Can I really do this to a person who'd give me the ring to something so kind? I'm sorry, I'm a rental girlfriend. I'm not his real girlfriend. She can communicate these things. She knows what to say. She just feels like she can't. She knows what to say. She just literally feels like she can't. I can't wear this thing and I can't give it back either. I'm sorry. She's stuck. She doesn't know what to do. So how does she communicate her feelings? Through a gesture. Because she's not allowed to speak, she's not allowed to say what she wants, she gives it to him. That's what I'm saying about abuse destroying communication. It's not that Chizuru can't communicate, she can. She's just being pigeonholed. Like I explained earlier, because of these rigid rules, she's being pigeonholed and marginalized, and she's becoming vulnerable specifically because of these rules that are meant to protect people, right? What can protect someone can marginalize someone else when it's very rigid. And that's exactly what's happening to Chizuru here. The entire structure of this arc is built around Nagomi thinking Chizuru is being abused. Here, I'll pull it up to you. She literally texts mommy, and mommy is just like, oh, well, you're out of time now, right? Where is it? It's right here. Okay, no, not that one. Is it 212 maybe? Yeah, it's 212. She gets a text from Nagomi. Nagomi says, the truth is, I overheard you talking this morning about Chizuru-san being a victim, so I had to ask. Is she dealing with something so difficult she has to lie? If that's the case, I'd like to help in any way I can. Ah, she knows something's up. The story is literally telling you she's a fucking victim. Nagomi thinks she's a victim. And yet, why is Chizuru actually a victim here? Specifically because she's being pigeonholed into a specific kind of victim, a perfect victim. A lot of times in society, we essentially demand perfect victims. We need people to act a certain way if they're a victim. We need people to be a certain way if they're a victim. You know? So it's you're not allowed to be a victim in a specific way. You have to be a victim in a very certain way. So because Kazuya and Chizuru don't look like victims, we don't think they're victims. They are. It's literally just like Kazuya right now with Ruka. Kazuya doesn't look like a victim right now, does he? Right? From a different lens, Kazuya would not look like a victim right now. Mommy thinks he's guilty. Minnie thinks Kazuya is guilty right now when it comes to Ruka. He had sex with her. Right? You fucking ejaculated, dude, when she was stroking your penis. She was stroking that dog, and you just kind of let it out. God, you just gave in. You're not a real victim. You didn't hate it. Therefore, you're not a real perfect victim. Do you see the problem? Because people don't appear like certain kinds of victims, it becomes very easy to blame people. That's why in courts, a lot of the times victims have to like act and present themselves in a very particular way. They're not allowed to be emotional, even though they absolutely fucking should be. But the moment they do, it gets used against them. This is exactly that. Nagomi thinks Chizuru is a very particular kind of victim. She thinks she's been hurt by someone in some way. She thinks someone hurt Chizuru and Kazuya helped her through it. That's what she thinks is going on. I think she says this later to mommy. She thinks Chizuru has been hurt in some way and Kazuya helped her through it. What she doesn't realize is that Chizuru is right now a victim, and she right now needs help, and you need to let go of all of these rules right the fuck now so you can help her. Instead, they don't let go of their rigid rules, and instead she actually becomes their victim too, because they're so stuck in these certain kinds of rules. No, the story is absolutely talking about Chizuru being a fucking victim here. She's being used. And so is Kazuya. Like, if you really think I'm just babying Chizuru here, I really think you're missing the fucking point. And yes, that is to you, Roman, because you're the one who said I was babying Chizuru here. Okay, mommy uses that every chance she gets. She physically pushes Chizuru against the wall with words and logic that make sense intellectually, but not emotionally, until Chizuru is literally across a bridge, sitting at the door of a church. What we saw as a wedding chapel was actually a desperate prayer from a lost soul, but without any prayer to God, for God has always been cruel to her. As Chizuru said, God is really cruel, huh? Now, what's interesting about this, Chizuru goes to the church and sits at its doorstep, literally sitting on the steps of faith. A church behind her, as she wishes to enter, and sits in its seats, but can't. Ready to believe, but she's not allowed to. She's literally not allowed to believe. She wants to. She's literally not allowed to. An unwelcome sinner that's turned away. Now, hold on with this line. Chizuru isn't actually a sinner because we're all sinners. Literally, isn't this literally in the fucking Bible? It's like we're all sinners and God just forgives you. You know, if you atone for your sins and you try to be better, God just forgives you because God loves us all. That's the whole idea. So we're all sinners. Every single human being is a sinner. There's nobody who hasn't sinned. A child may not have sinned yet, but they will sin eventually because that is what it means to be human. We all do bad things, period. Okay, whether we realize it or not. Okay, so that's important to realize here. Chizuru is unable to enter its premises unless she were to marry Kazuya. So Chizuru sits at the church, right? Chizuru sits at this church, and she can't enter the church unless she was going to marry Kazuya or it's a special event. I mean this literally. Hawaiians doesn't generally open up the church unless it's reserved for a wedding or a special event. Chizuru is denied the safety and sanctuary that the church provides because it is commodified, not because sinners are unwelcome, for all humans are sinners. The church is turned into a product rather than being available for everyone. Even belief has a price, showing how everything is being diluted into a product. How fitting then that the rental girlfriend, someone who works a job that sells love because she needs to make money and is a part of a system that abuses vulnerable people like her, wants to reach love but is denied it because she doesn't have the right qualifications. Now I'm going to add something to this. I'm going to add a little something to this. In particular, this is what I want to show you. While Chizuru sits at the front of a church, right? Where do we see Mommy? In her own private double bedroom. Where's Mommy? In her own private double bedroom, texting away. Right? All chill, no care in the fucking world. Right? She has privilege. Whereas, where does Chizuru sit? Chizuru sits in front of a church. Chizuru can't even stay in her own room because the room is not solely hers. She's underprivileged. Now, I'm going to read you what I wrote in regarding to that. Chizuru goes to the church and sits at its doorstep. An unwelcome sinner. Where's the part? Okay. Okay, there it is. Okay. The church behind her as she wishes to enter. Chizuru sits at the steps of faith at the church behind her as she wishes to enter it and sit in its seats. Remember, churches have seats, but she is not allowed to. She is ready to believe, but she is not allowed to. Robbed of dreams as a contrast to the movie When Dreams Came True. Chizuru isn't denied entry because she's a sinner. No, that's just how it looks. All humans are sinners. Even in the Bible, God forgives and loves everyone. She isn't allowed because it's a product she can't purchase. That's very specific. She doesn't have the money or the resources to get into this church. Contrasted by Mommy, who does. Remember, Mommy got into Hawaiians because of her dad's influence, right? So you see this in like the beginning of Hawaiians. The moment you get to Hawaiians, you are introduced to a very particular element, the influence that Mommy's dad has, right? So chapter 190. This is chapter 190, right? This is when they go to, this is the first chapter where they get to Hawaiians. And what do you know? Chizuru is a nun and Kazuya is a priest. And they're literally believing, right? They want to believe in love. What happens in the very end of this chapter? Right? When you get to the very end of this chapter, Kazuya wants to believe in love. He wants to believe things will work out. Chizuru's entire perspective seems to be changing. The moment they walk in, Mommy's there. And Kazuya labels this as a watershed moment. Their belief is about to be shattered. Okay? When you get to the next the next chapter, what does Mommy say? Kazuya is surprised. How the fuck did Mommy get here? Now remember, this place is not cheap. This place is not cheap. Not even a little bit. Okay? You must be the Kinoshita's. Nanami-sama told me you'd be coming. My parents are actually acquainted with the manager here. I've been here since yesterday. When I heard Grandma Nagomi was bringing everybody, I thought I just had to come and say hello. The manager since yesterday? Her dad is filthy rich. She's literally using her privilege to be here, to do all the bullshit that she's doing. She's mad privileged. She gets her own double bedroom and sits there and texts all day, and her dad doesn't care. Oh, you have a connection here? Get in. Whatever. She's mad privileged. She has hella money. She can just fucking get in here. She has connections. She can just get into Hawaiians. This place is not cheap. The Kanishita family does it bi-yearly because it's that expensive. Okay? Mommy got into Hawaiians because of her dad's influence. She literally used the weapon of the enemy because she is becoming him, using power and influence to get her way. Whereas we see Chizuru sits on the steps of a closed church. We see Mommy in her own private room, on a comfortable bed, texting away without a care in the world. Nagomi in between them, right? Nagomi is wandering. Nagomi is between them. She's drifting between the two. She's not in her room, but she's not sitting in front of a church. She doesn't know if she should believe or what she should try to do. She's literally walking. She's directionless. She's just walking. Okay? Wandering around and looking at her phone, but not knowing which way she is leaning, towards faith or towards a cold, hard reality, right? She's literally holding her cold, hard machine. Texting Mommy, but concerned about Chizuru. On the phone, she's texting Mommy, but concerned about Chizuru. On a phone, a tool to connect that everyone shares, but a cold machine with no heart and no emotions. Just an uncaring messenger that may disconnect or bond us together. The victim became the perpetrator. The dramatic irony of Mommy's actions speaks volumes. Mommy, the victim who became the perpetrator, frames Chizuru, her victim, as the perpetrator. Mommy doesn't see how Chizuru is her. How Mommy is treating herself like shit in treating Chizuru like crap. Mommy hurting Chizuru is Mommy hurting her own inner child, villainizing her for her mistake instead of accepting that she made one and can connect and can correctly, come on. Right? Instead of, she's villainizing her inner child instead of accepting that she made a mistake and can correct it. Take step to correct them. Mommy doubles down on her path instead of actually recognizing her part in all of it, much like Nagomi and Kibe don't recognize their part in what they did. Okay? She is denied even a prayer, for God frowns upon her. There's even a joke about how Chizuru has bad luck in the story when they play games later. Remember when she plays games, when she plays the Ito game with Kazuya and Minnie, they literally constantly joke about her having bad luck. Her room number is 204. Sounds like death in Japanese. She has bad luck in games and things regularly don't go her way. She has to work for everything she earns. Nothing is just handed to Chizuru. I mean, how often are sex workers and marginalized folks turned away by the church, unwelcome in its halls? Mommy literally calls Chizuru a whore. She literally calls her a back alley hooker. Nagomi later admits she just Chizuru for her job. A harlot is unwelcome in holy halls. A harlot is unwelcome in holy halls. Or so the nonsense goes. And so a kind soul is turned away and so a kind soul is denied even a prayer merely because of their disposition or their job. She doesn't hold a book of faith in her hand, but a cold machine with a nihilist on the other side, right? She's literally looking at her phone the whole time. She doesn't hold a book. Reasoning with her abuser to stop at the door of an empty church, alone with no one she can speak to, for she would just burden them with her problems, and not even God would hear. She can't even talk to her loved ones. She talks to her abuser. And when her loved ones arrive, he doesn't even show up to talk to her. He comes to confess his feelings. And what looks to be a perfect time for him is a horrible time for her. When he pulls her in, Mommy pushes her out. Tugged between two sides, instead of receiving help, she is instead pushed into a mistake. Here, it looks like Kazuya was left on an altar. In reality, it was Chizuru who was forsaken by the church and thus was not allowed to keep believing, running to the one person who would destroy her beliefs instead of giving her a chance to dream. Right? And I think the scene I reference here perfectly shows it. Chizuru is literally really vulnerable and she wants to believe. Am I the only one who thinks that's real? Am I but that smile that put on Nagomi's face, that smile has to be real. What does mommy do? She destroys Chizuru's beliefs. She doesn't let her dream anymore. Right? Chizuru is vulnerable. She wants to believe, and mommy hits her with this horrible nihilistic reality, and not allowing her to believe anymore. Like with Harumi, she could only see the wedding dress behind a glass case, unable to touch it. In the end, she gives up her own autonomy, fully accepting that she is not allowed happiness, merely asking that Kazuya is at least given a chance to say his truth. So he is happy. Right? What does she say? He's tried to tell the truth. Just give him a chance. Mommy refuses. Chizuru says, please, I know you don't get it. I'm sorry you don't understand. I know this seems all self-serving to you, but please, I'm begging you, please give him a chance. She gives up her autonomy to her abuser so the person she loves is okay. How tragic, then, that she goes to a place of prayer, but does not pray because her prayers were never heard, except for maybe once because of Kazuya, who made her believe again. How tragic, then, that the person who goes to a place of faith and belief but doesn't pray because she doubts her own belief in herself, silently praying because she doesn't even know how to pray in a cruel reality that does not care. Contrasted by Kazuya, who prays to God and Buddha to save him when it all goes wrong, but instead of a divine intervention, he gets mommy, dressed in white, on the floor, appearing heavenly, yet the opposite of divine, a white husk of a person with black empty eyes, not filled with life like a goddess, but dead like a corpse. As she escalates even more and intentionally makes it worse, God was not listening, no one was coming to help, and Kazuya had to save himself and his loved ones, a desperate knight to his desperate princess, facing the pain and still choosing to love in the face of nihilism. For characters are truly tested when pressure is applied. Love is truly found when we see pain, fear, and doubt and choose to keep moving forward and believing. Anyways, getting off track here. So for Chizuru, mommy was going after Kazuya. Kazuya also says he loves Chizuru, but she's doubting herself and whether she's a good person or fit to be with Kazuya, because how he describes her is not how she sees herself. She's afraid he doesn't love her, but Mizuhara. She starts to believe and have faith though, following Kazuya trying to give him a chance when he wants to confess. But he doesn't take it. So she hesitates, starting to doubt it again. Maybe it's all in her head. Something that isn't true but hits at the core of the issue, being seen for who you are and not who you appear to be. Fitting that, then mommy frames her as a villain, as she begins to doubt her love and wishes to know Kazuya for more than his love, but for who he is. She wants to fall in love with him, not his love, for she knows all too well how easy it is to sell and fall in love with love and not a real person. You see her sigh in frustration, confused as to what to do as she runs from him. What I'm referring to here is chapter 175. Right, so after Kazi confesses to Chizuru, you see the sigh in the chapter. She walks away, the light is behind her, it's too blinding, it's too dazzling, she can't face it. She literally can't face him, he's too beautiful, he's too amazing. Right, she doesn't feel worthy of it. You see her sigh in frustration, confused as to what to do as she runs from him, not knowing how to approach him because she feels she owes him an answer. He fell in love with her on the job after all, and then Umi conveniently gives her away through his party, only to pressure her more right after. Now add on some grief and some self-doubt for good measure. Now did I mention this person is alone and really struggling to open up and connect? I mean, this girl had a hard time breaking down and crying over her dead grandmother because she always bears the burden alone. She really wants to trust and open up. There's no better indicator than her breakdown. Kazuya saw how weak she was and needed to give her some space and just talk to her. Instead, just as she learns to open up, her trust is constantly abused by people who make her retreat into these habits and self-doubt, continuing to bear the burden alone when she doesn't want to, but feels she has to. Hawaiians is Chizuru bearing an unfathomable burden alone, a silent sufferer who does not want others to suffer with her. Something I personally saw with my mom and many women in my life. who often bore an insane burden on their own, while I didn't even realize the privilege that they gave me in doing so. Fitting then that she hears Harumi's story of how she suffered through so much alone when carrying Kazuya, and Nagomi was the one who helped her because Kazuya's dad was busy working. How fitting that they want to help her and they ultimately fail to help her. They turn against her. How family literally turns against you. This isn't pain for pain's sake, nor abuse for abuse's sake. Many people suffer alone and remain unseen. Even Kazuya, that's the point of the infamous pool scene. No one is seeing his pain or understands it, not even the huge portion of the audience. He's literally invisible to those around him, as most victims are. Something Chizuru seeks to see now in the manga. People are often surprised when they see this kind of pain, thinking it just randomly became a thing, when it was always there. You just didn't notice it because you didn't know how to see it. Something a lot of marginalized and unseen folks experience. People who work Chizuru's job are vulnerable and stigmatized, targeted for being different, labeled as harlots. Mami literally leverages this exact stigma when describing how Chizuru is always smiling no matter what, bastardizing Chizuru's kind-hearted smile into an evil one for Nagomi. When you demonize someone's smile, it becomes very easy to dehumanize them. Mami merely weaponized the stigma and bias that Nagomi and Kibe already believed and felt. To quote Nagomi, just when I started to shake the feeling that she was too perfect to be Kazuya's girlfriend, literally placing Chizuru in shadows, making her feel invisible and unseen. And as Nagomi says, I see now, while looking down as Chizuru and Kazuya are in shadows, invisible to her. In contrast, Kibe depicts physical abuse against the unseen, punching his best friend and nearly hurting Chizuru in the process, something the anime removes. His violence is the same violence that many tell themselves is justice, when it is selfish panic reaction to the truth when in reality it is a selfish panic reaction to the truth they turned away from. Something that goes against what they believe, even if that itself is wrong. Kibe failed as a friend because the masculine violence he inflicts on Kazuya stems from two fundamental misunderstandings. A misunderstanding of good and bad and what justice even means. Kibe is intentionally presented as a white knight here, a traditional shonen protagonist. He's strong, stands up for what he believes in, and shows the horrible liar the truth of love. Except no. His violence is dangerous and almost hurts a woman just because he couldn't help himself. He is saying this is for Nagomi, yet he punches her grandson. Her pride and joy. He makes him want to disappear. He makes him hate himself. How is this for Kazuya? How is this for him caring about Nagomi? You're forcing love on him. He did this in front of his dad and his mom. In addition, I like in the anime showing them as well as Ruka reacting to this, because this is wrong. Hurting a child in front of their parents is messed up, regardless of who is right and wrong. Lastly, true justice as if Kibe saw this part of Lastly, true justice is if Kibe saw this part in the. Okay, I understand what I wrote. Lastly, true justice is if Kibe saw his part in all of this instead of blaming Kazuya for lying. If he stopped reacting and actually taking action, real action, calm down and think. He couldn't do this because he reacted. He hurt the people he claimed to protect. His best friend since childhood, and he made him want to disappear, not being able to tell the difference between real tears and fake ones. Listening to Mami, who confirmed his bias, turning to anger and hate instead of love and kindness. He blackened his heart with rage. Kibe saying Kazuya is a great guy, but then being jealous of him being with Chizuru showed how if he were told she was an escort, he would believe it in a second. Because there's no way in his eyes that Kazuya would have dated a girl like her. He's wrong, but he can't believe it in his jealousy. So Kazuya lying to Nagomi is almost a justification for his anger rather than purely for its sake. It's not for Nagomi. And even if it is, whose friend is he? Nagomi's or Kazuya's? Kazuya tried to tell him, and he told him that he would go to hell if he lied to Nagomi. That's what Kibe said to him. But Kazuya told him he already did lie to Nagomi. He was lying about something. So too little, too late. Even though he could have helped him solve this if he had just listened to Kazuya, instead he shuts him out and acts like it's all Kazuya's fault. He's a bad friend, period. Kibe in part created this. He facilitated the lies and blamed Kazuya for them without ever questioning his part in all of it. Funny enough, it's the same exact way the first time he punched him. We just didn't think so. In fact, the scenes are direct mirrors of each other, with this one reframing the last. Kibe is his best friend because he really does care and has been there, but even best friends can fail you. In many ways, he doesn't deserve to be Kazuya's best friend, but Kazuya doesn't see him this way. He still sees him as his best friend. He even says it in the very end. And Kibe needs to start earning this title. That's why Minnie looks like Kazuya's real best friend right now. Except she's the reverse, idolizing Kazuya as something akin to a dream, but in so doing, making him nothing special, literally robbing him of what makes him special. They are the same point of two extremes. There's no single human being who does not lie. Lying is not the issue. It is the intent behind the lie, and even Kibe is lying here, acting like he did nothing wrong when he played a huge part in this. Heck, this is all happening because Mommy lied. Making the statement that lying is bad is quite ironic, considering it is a lie that saves everyone here. And Mommy literally gets away with lies she told. Well, kinda. There's no social consequences, but there are emotional ones. So literally, like the whole point of this arc is that lies literally save people. That like when you lie, it can protect a precious truth, and that even lies can be an expression of love, just as truth can be an expression of hate. Right? Truth can be an expression of hate, and lies can be an expression of love. Kibe is an exploration of what it means to be a friend. He clearly cares for Kazuya and does what he thinks helps him, yet at the same time demeans his friend and hurts him in his thoughtlessness. My best friend and I had a similar relationship for a time before we learned to talk. When he punches Kazuya, you see Chizuru react, concerned for his safety as someone who cares would. But Kibe does not see this in his rage. This literally disproves their beliefs that Chizuru doesn't care about anyone. But no one looks. They're too busy coping. Right? It's literally right here. Look at Chizuru freak out that Kazuya got punched. Look at her get worried about him. And what does Kibe do? Right? Kibe doesn't clock this. Nagomi doesn't clock this. No one clocks this. They're too busy coping. They're too busy reacting. The lack of communication is a fundamental narrative idea. People don't communicate out of fear, confirmation bias, lies they tell themselves, grief, or self-doubt, self-hatred. It's not merely a trope, it's an exploration of people and how, through culture, rules, beliefs, and even social media, the cold, unfeeling machine, we stop forming bonds and connecting with each other. We separate, we hurt, and we fail the people who need us most. Chizuru, the person that started this whole trip, Chizuru, the person they started this whole trip for, became the target of their warpath. Nagomi knew Sayuri for a year and a half, while Chizuru knew her for 19, was raised by her, and knew her longer than anyone alive here. This isn't just cruel, it is a need for justice turned into selfish punishment. Just look at how Chizuru is on the verge of tears when being told she betrayed the most important person to her, while Nagomi is stern and decisive. Who is betraying whom here? Who's really the villain here? None of this is justified. They failed both Chizuru and Kazuya as their family. They reacted without thinking. Nobody wondered why Chizuru would hide such a job considering their reaction. Trusted them at their word. Nobody saw how Kazuya lied specifically so Chizuru wouldn't be lying, to protect her very specifically because he cares about her. Nobody saw the love they were sharing with each other in that moment. They were so busy being angry. And Chizuru does the same thing for him. Chizuru kisses him so that he wouldn't be lying. Just as he lied so she wouldn't be lying. She lied so he wouldn't lie, just as he lied so she wouldn't lie. And no one clocks this. They just immediately assume the worst. No, Nagomi literally misunderstood her friend and did this to herself, and did this for herself rather than Sayuri. Something you can see when she talks to Kazuya, saying she felt powerless over the loss of Sayuri. And all Mommy did was weaponize that grief as she weaponized Chizuru through gaslighting and manipulation. Mommy was merely the catalyst to what they already believed. Chizuru believed she was a bad person, and Mommy merely used that against her. Kazuya believed he was worthless, and she used that against him. Nagomi believed these things about Chizuru, and Mommy used that against her. It's the same thing with Kibe. Stuff you can see in their words. Nagomi telling Chizuru she would love her even if she were an alien. But the moment she finds out that Chizuru is a rental, nope, Chizuru must be a harlot. Nagomi sees Chizuru breaking down in front of her and acts like she's the one who cares about Sayuri more. Nagomi became her own worst villain, and that is the point. Mommy showed how even good people can do genuinely cruel things in their bias, how even she, a victim, can become the very monster she despised. While Mommy weaved a story, Kazuya and Chizuru's family failed them because they chose to trust that story instead of them. When family fails you, when what you perceive to be your rock, the thing that keeps you steady, breaks, you lose all stability. It may look like this is what Chizuru and Kazuya did in lying, but it's the reverse. A war helps no one. It only hurts. It is a tragedy if there ever was one. This is what happens when you exchange niceness for kindness. When we are only nice if you fit our mold, our ideas, what we want. This is why Mommy leverages authority, for it is the ultimate decider in our world. Everyone bends to power. Mommy is both the villain here and merely weaponizing the real villain that even controls her, the authority of society. Literally, society is literally manipulating, controlling these characters. They literally have to make money to live in this society. It is literally abusing them. It is literally using their vulnerability against them. You have to work to live. You don't have a fucking choice. You have to work. You need money to survive. And then when you do it, and when you do the money in a way they don't like, suddenly you're a horrible fucking person. The authority of society. Because her dad is the real person in charge, who is literally a representation of the abuse of society. That's what Mommy's dad really kind of represents. He's the abuse of society, I would argue. Just as Nagomi is, and literally you can see that in like how he coerces Mommy's boyfriend to break up with her. Literally, he used the influence of society to pressure this kid to break up with her. He made love break, just as society can easily break love when they deem it as unworthy. Just as her dad deemed her love with her boyfriend as unworthy to something like Hakuba, which is better for him. He knows what's better. Society knows what's better, right? The world that you live in, the culture that you live in knows what's better. You don't know well enough. Just as Nagomi is the authority and Kibe is her enforcer. But love doesn't bend to authority. Protection in many ways is the highest form of love because it pushes us to act no matter what may bar our path. Kazuya, despite losing everything, acts to protect Chizuru. Ruka even protects, and then Chizuru herself steps up and takes the stage, protecting Kazuya and saying she would do it again no matter how many times it happened. And yet the confusion persists because we never faced this issue. Because we never faced these issues. We merely let love decide our fate. Did Chizuru do it for Kazuya, to stop Mommy, or for her grief, for the family? She doesn't know because no one gave her space. She carried all of that alone and couldn't discern love for Kazuya from everything else. Like the opening of season 5, the script and reality blended together, and she can't tell them apart. She lost her identity because it was erased, just like Kazuya's was. Mommy is Chizuru's abuser, and Chizuru had learned helplessness that was reinforced to her, trying to solve a Herculean task of dealing with Mommy's abuse and gaslighting, Ruka, Kazuya's feelings, the family, expectations, on top of suffering through grief, only to be treated like she didn't love this person enough. Now add Nagomi dropping a ring on her, and then multiply the pressure by 100, and that multiplies the pressure by 100 and leans into everything described above. And it makes Chizuru feel like makes Chizuru feel even more guilty over her grief. And thus, when Ruka pulls the condom shit, all you've got left is, I'm not good enough. Except she really wants this. So she's terrified to ask, waits a lot, gives Kazuya chances, and when she musters up the courage to ask the first time, he freaks out by saying, what do you mean? When, motherfucker, you saw Ruka trying to frame herself as though she had sex with you. And this is the girl you just asked if you had feeling, and this girl just asked you if you had feelings for her for not 2 weeks ago, and you told her you loved her. The fuck you mean? What do you mean? Kazuya is so busy trying to confess, he forgets Chizuru in all of it. Fitting, considering how Nagomi forgets Sayuri's words and wishes while starting her warpath on Chizuru, misrepresenting Sayuri's will, who told Chizuru she didn't care if she lied. But no one knows this except for Chizuru. That room for doubt is how victims are framed as abusers. No one saw it, only the victim did. No one would believe you. Therefore, it isn't real, right? I only have your word to go off of, and I don't trust you. We see it often in abuse cases. Abusers and predators use victims' language to pin the blame on the actual victims, using the lack of knowledge to create doubt and spin a story, stop the victim from speaking the truth and turn it into a lie. Oh, look, literally like this arc, turning a lie into a truth. In reality, it's literally turning a truth into a lie.
Mami, the abuser, stops Chizuru, the victim, from connecting to people around her, isolating her and leaving her with no advocates, then framing her as the villain, with Ruka being her unaware accomplice. So busy in her quest to be with Kazuya, she doesn't see Chizuru's pain, or Kazuya's pain. Much like Kazuya, her partner, who failed her, is so busy trying to confess, he fails to do the one thing he wanted: support Chizuru, protect her, be there for her. This is how family can fail us in their own selfish quests, not just for Chizuru, but even Kazuya. And Kazuya does it in the very end, granted. Kazuya does it in the very end. He does protect Chizuru. He sticks to his word. Kazuya never overcame his conflicts in the movie arc. The movie arc specifically began because he felt powerless due to Ruka assaulting him and not realizing what she had just done to him. He couldn't end the lies, so instead he saved Chizuru's dream. He couldn't save himself, so he saved Chizuru. Hawaiians is an inverted mirror to this, as it began due to Nagomi feeling powerless to help Sayuri or Chizuru. Ruka even assaulted Kazuya again, but unlike last time, he wasn't helpless. This wasn't an emotional and physical assault like last time. This was purely a physical domination. Kazuya broke free emotionally. He tricked himself into thinking he was powerless. He let Ruka control him physically, just as Chizuru let Mami control her emotionally. Chizuru broke free of Mami at the end of Hawaiians, at least physically, whereas Ruka still physically clung to Kazuya, but he's literally stronger than her. He can push her away. He just thinks he can't. They had more control than they realized. Just as if he had taken action sooner, maybe they could have changed the outcome sooner. They were not powerless, merely believed it so. But for Nagomi, she couldn't do anything but start this arc. Nagomi started this for herself, to feel like she can do something, to cope with her own mortality. She was not a victim like Kazuya, who was not acting powerless and had more control than he realized. Some victims are young and powerless, but not every victim is. Chizuru was turned away from the church because they commercialized the church, not because she was a sinner. Because Christianity literally says God will forgive you regardless of if you sinned. Ironic, considering Sayuri literally fucking forgives Chizuru, and it's her feelings that are being ignored. Sayuri literally forgave Chizuru and only cared about her well-being and happiness. All that needed to be said was "I love you." All the other lies meant nothing. That was the truth underneath the 99 lies. The fact that these two characters, Chizuru and Sayuri, loved each other. One of the only times we hear Chizuru ever utter the words, "I love you," because she meant it with all her heart. That was Sayuri's philosophy, that lies don't matter as long as we live with our single truth. We may disagree with that. You may disagree with that, but that proves that this is no longer for Sayuri, but a selfish quest to justify personal ego. Nothing more, nothing less. This is the flaw of Nagomi and Kibe's approach. It was never about anyone else but themselves, to prove that they believed to prove what they believed to be good and bad, when those things are easily movable and changeable for reasons. Nagomi says, "I want to do whatever I can for our princess in mourning, and this is the best I could do. I thought if she could just kick back and relax in a pool, it might ease her trouble a little bit. It's a refresher. It's not like we've got enough time to take her to the real Hawaii. Her eyes are closed. She's kind of lying here. She's actually doing this for herself because she wants to feel better. She wants to feel like she can do something, and in trying so hard to do something, she ironically robs Kazuya of control." How fitting. And as well as Chizuru, right? In trying to gain control so badly, she robs Kazuya and Chizuru of control. Abusers thrive when they make victims believe they are powerless. You are not powerless. You can fight and do more than you realize. Some victims are. Let's not get that twisted. Some victims actually can't do much. You know, they're more powerless than they realize. Or like, you know, when you're a kid, you can't really do anything when you're a kid. You know, when someone assaults you as a child, you can't fucking do anything. You're a kid. You don't have any fucking control. And I think for Kazuya, like when Ruka first assaults him, he didn't have control, right? When Ruka first assaulted Kazuya, in the scene when it happens to him the first time, I don't think he actually had control. It just fucking happened. Yes, he could have done some things, but he never knew Ruka was going to do this. He had no way of knowing Ruka was just going to do it. There were signs. Yes, there were signs that Ruka was feeling pressured. But he had no idea Ruka was going to fucking assault him. He had no way of knowing that was going to happen. The second time was a little bit more of the middle ground. I would argue the second time it happened, during Hawaiians where Ruka assaults Kazuya, I would argue that's a bit of a more of the middle ground, where Kazuya is trying to get more control, But Ruka has been kind of passive and she backed away. So he got comfortable. He got lured into a false sense of security, specifically because Ruka called a ceasefire. He didn't realize that in trying to break up with her and giving her so much space, as she was literally entering his home and being with him, she was going to do that again, right? And you see him panic and back the fuck up. He's like, I didn't know she was going to do that again. So the second time is like, he could have done something, but he kind of like got lured into a false sense of security. This actually is a direct mirror to what Mommy does, where she leans Chizuru into a false sense of security. She leads Kazuya into a false sense of security. It's a dramatic irony that we know she's doing that. Whereas with Ruka, we didn't know she was doing this. It just kind of fucking happened. It was completely out of our ballpark. However, when it happens a third time, when it happened a third time, I would argue Kazuya had a pattern to go on here. I would argue the third time this happened, Kazuya had more control than he realized. There were very clear signs, in particular with Ruka, in the third time, which she actually like literally physically assaulted him, like straight up, like no buts, whats, or ifs. He had clear signs that this was bad and he should have ended this. I think Kazuya in the third case has some stuff he needs to be accountable for. The first case and the second case, less so. The first case, I don't think so. The first case, yes, he should have dealt with Ruka a little sooner. He could have maybe handled it better, but he had no way of knowing he was going to get fucking assaulted. The second time it happened, again, like I said, he could have known, but he got lured into a false sense of security and essentially tricked into the idea that he couldn't do anything. You know, he kind of got like led into this idea, and I think that's where Reiji starts introducing the idea that Kazuya like views himself as powerless when he's not. And I think that's where it's kind of getting introduced, where it's like he was still assaulted the second time, but he had some level of control there. He just didn't realize it. I think by the third time it happens, he absolutely had full control and awareness because she's literally constantly fucking touching and kissing him. So I think by that point, it's like, okay, you've gotten a lot of signals. I think you should know it's not okay to let her into your house. That's why like the third time when Ruka like really assaults Kazuya, like I say it's kind of both of them. You know, and I think a lot of them are both of them, you know, like Kazuya had the signs for the first time it happened. He just didn't think he would be assaulted. Whereas Ruka in that case, like doesn't know what she did. Well, at the same time, she says she doesn't regret it, but she clearly like feels a lot of emotions and isn't okay. The second time it happens, Ruka is in the wrong, like a lot more blatantly so. While at the same time, Kazuya clearly had a lot of evidence that he could have like, you know, overcome this issue, but he didn't use that evidence. You know? And I think the third time is like the final straw. Like, I think the third time it happens is kind of like the ultimate final straw, where it's like, okay, there's no buts or ifs. Both of them crossed a line. Ruka went way too far, and Kazuya absolutely should have ended this a lot fucking sooner. And I think that was kind of the idea. So a lot of victims are conditioned that they are powerless and they can't do anything. This was, in fact, that they, so naturally the characters must come to terms with, oh, sorry. Abusers thrive when they make victims believe they are powerless. We are not powerless. You can fight and do more than you realize. You just have to be able to see that you aren't. And a lot of people don't know how to see, and that's what therapists kind of help with. They help you realize you aren't powerless. Just as people around you can learn to help you realize you're not powerless. That's why, like, I don't think therapy is always like an absolute necessity. It's just introducing things that we are not aware of. And I think people can do that normally. You don't need to always have that happen through therapy. People can do that for us too, if they have the skills for it. Some things most victims don't realize. You have to believe, fitting then, that the movie arc is about dreams, because dreams never die. We merely kill them, but they can be revived, for they are but a belief. Thus, even when confronted with death, the characters could keep dreaming until the end. Death, on the other hand, is not something that can be fixed. So naturally, the characters must come to terms with their powerlessness, that they can't actually do anything in terms of grief, that this was, in fact, out of their control. You are not God, and no matter how much we pray, even God won't avert death. But that doesn't mean we are helpless. That doesn't mean we are helpless, that we have no control over our lives, as Mommy believes. Mommy let her dream die, not herself. She's still alive. She's not dead yet, and she doesn't need to stay like this. The authority, that authority can decide how we feel. Authority can't decide how we feel. Accepting that death is out of our control does not mean we should be nihilistic. It just means we must live life to the fullest so that when death comes, we know we chose the life We know we chose to live life how we wanted. We have those memories that we have in the very end, not with fear but with love. Mommy doesn't know how to do this. She was warped and molded by her environment. She was denied a teddy bear as a child, the safe sanctuary for a child, the safe sanctuary for most children. She was robbed of a childhood. The weird baby fetus that we're presented with in chapter 214 is a red herring, a child that never existed. Leveraging how we are being communicated to and by who to confuse us. You are getting mommy's backstory from her perspective, her beliefs. She believed in a child that was never real. And when the child died, her dreams did too. The baby represents mommy's inner child dying as she gave up and became nihilistic, using her trauma as a justification for her actions that disguises her jealousy. Her horrible behavior is just as much a cry for help as it is abuse, wishing and hoping to be proven wrong at every turn. Light comes back to her eyes when Chizuru speaks, only to feed her confirmation bias, and the black abyss returns as she yet again returns to living in the blind darkness, unable to see the light in front of her. Mommy is a tragic character, both an abuser and a victim. She needs help to learn how to live and love just as much as she needs to take accountability and responsibility for her actions. Not knowing how to because she was raised by a rich, abusive man who never faced any consequences for his actions. Mommy can feel what she did is wrong, but she's afraid to truly face herself in fear of what she might find. That she was bigoted to Chizuru, that she was a horrible person who hurt others just as much as she was hurt, becoming the very abuser she despised. That she was a hypocrite who criticized others for their learned helplessness when she believed herself helpless, and that despite all of that, she can take charge of her life, find love, atone, and maybe if she's lucky, be forgiven for those she wronged. Or sorry, be forgiven by those that she wronged. It's fine to be angry, but tossing insults it's fine to be angry, but tossing insults and demanding punishment for what is essentially a victim crying for help instead of demanding accountability is not justice. It is the same hatred you hate seeing. Mommy did something evil. She isn't an evil person. She's a victim trapped by her environment and thus became the same abuser that her father was. She is both. This is just as much a cry for help as it is an evil act. Real justice is accountability and responsibility, not curses, labels, and shouting exactly like the very abusers who started all of this. We must still take charge of our lives and face the inevitable death with love, not by giving up, but by persevering, just as grief is the perseverance of love. This directly connects to abuse, as it's about making someone give up, making the victim think it's their fault. Mommy literally does this to Chizuru multiple times, slowly gaslighting her into believing she is the villain until she ultimately pulls her nonsense. And by the time Nagomi asks her, Chizuru believes it. That's why she freezes and can't answer, because to her, it appears true. She betrayed her grandma, and she couldn't live up to Kazuya's feelings. She lied, and she can't believe anymore. When Kazuya tries to confess to her, and she didn't let him confess, she regrets that because now this thing that she was deeply afraid of happened. She failed Kazuya and Nagomi. She failed Kazuya and Sayuri. That's what this moment was. Only for Kazuya to give her a push from behind, just as Sayuri described her late husband doing for her, helping her keep believing again. Something Nagomi doesn't even notice, that Kazuya literally did what Sayuri described. Kazuya describes Chizuru's self-doubt perfectly. These things did happen, but they were reframed into a horrible lie that no one can disprove. Sayuri isn't here to advocate for Chizuru. She has no one. That's why it's so powerful that Ruka, Kazuya, and Kuri rally behind Chizuru. She needed support. No one can do it alone, just like the movie arc. Interestingly, the end of Hawaiians parallels the self-doubt Kazuya sees, the self-doubt. Kazuya sees Ruka push Chizuru and frame her negatively. He doesn't clock Chizuru might feel guilty about it until she spells it out for him, even though he had all the evidence to figure it out, but chose to blame himself instead. It's easier to blame yourself, victimize yourself, because you can justify what's been done to you, exactly like mommy. You tell yourself you were helpless, so you can't take any responsibility for what was done to you. Disassociate from the guilt we all feel as victims, but also tell yourself you couldn't do anything when you could. This is the flip side of the abuser's desire, self-victimization, and what led to the ghosting to last 3 months. Kazuya believed Chizuru hated him when that made absolutely no sense considering her character, and he limits the and when that made no sense considering Chizuru's character. And he limits his approach to 3 things. 1, knock on her door. He didn't even know she was there. 2, he texts her about a coupon, and she sees that but doesn't respond. Thus, he believes she's ghosting him. And 3, he uses rental, which question, why do you think Chizuru would not agree to rental dates? I want you to think about this. What was the whole point of the Hawaiian conflict? Yes, that Chizuru stole his money and deceived everyone. Gee, I wonder why Chizuru refused to agree to rental dates with him. And didn't want to do that until she was literally fucking forced to do it his way. He created the 3 months. It didn't need to be 3 months. Minnie proves that. Kazuya thought Chizuru was doing Kazuya thought Chizuru was meeting him through rental because it's what made her comfortable. In reality, she was doing it because she thought it's what made him comfortable. It's literally they think it's for the other person, not realizing they're doing it for the other person. Let's see here. Kazuya even realizes Chizuru never blocked him, and she didn't move or anything. She was literally next door. He could have just stood in front of the door and waited for her, and he would have met her eventually. It's almost like he was avoiding her too. Something he admits to when he says, if I faced her, I would be a stalker. But guess what, bitch? You already stalked her twice, and she forgave you. Once with Umi, a second time when going to her play. So this is important. You can't fully blame Kazuya for the 3 months because he was traumatized. So it's like, on one hand, it's like, okay, yeah, he's suffering from trauma. I can't fully blame him, but he has to realize his part in it eventually. And I think that's important for Kazuya, specifically because he's being put in the position his family was put in at the start of the series. He's literally doing what they were doing. He became them. He's literally not accounting for his own actions and what led to Chizuru acting in a certain way. He's not realizing his part that he played in all of this. Whereas Kazuya's family don't realize the part they played in all of this. And I think in Kazuya realizing his part, he can start helping his family realize the part they played in facilitating what they did to Chizuru. And Chizuru, in turn, can help Kazuya feel less guilty because she also still did these things, even though he in part created them. That's the importance of these things. You still did these things. You have to take responsibility for them. This is what Chizuru is doing. But you also have to come to terms with the fact that you facilitated this behavior, and you have to take responsibility for that too. And I think that's what Reiji is essentially writing, this 2-note where it's like both people have to take responsibility for their actions, just as people in society must learn to take responsibility for their actions when they say rude or cruel things to others and assume a whole bunch of stuff about them. That, yeah, sure. So when someone says, oh, why did you say these stuff on the internet? The internet is mean. Well, the internet, the people who are saying these stuff to these people have to take responsibility for their actions at some point. And the only reason they don't is because they're on the internet. Because there's no consequences for your actions. I think that's what Reiji is saying. We have to learn to take accountability for our actions, regardless of whether this is how society is supposed to function or not. You have to be better. You have to take accountability for what you did, regardless of whether this is socially acceptable or not. That doesn't matter. It's not about social acceptability. It's about being better for others. It's about taking accountability for your actions, learning to live for yourself, and not just by culture, rules, or what fucking ever, or society, or social media, or whatever. You have to take accountability for your life. It is yours, not society's. Society can't decide how you live. You have to live that for yourself. And society and literally, it's literally Reiji calling society out for marginalizing and hurting people. And I think that's awesome. Right? So Kazuya created the 3 months. It didn't need to be 3 months. Minnie proves that. She ended it in a single day. Just before she comes back, Kazuya even realizes Chizuru never blocked him, and he didn't move or anything. She was literally next door. He could have just stood in front of the door and waited for her, and he would have eventually ran into her. It's almost like he was avoiding her too. He stalked her, and Chizuru still forgave him. Do you see how his arguments fall apart very quickly when you look at real factual evidence? But how, when we read the chapter, his logic sounds convincing. We were literally part of the communication trope and didn't even realize it. Because, like Kazuya, we felt abused and betrayed, getting this image from his POV, that Chizuru hurt him in Hawaiians, that Chizuru is hurting him now. When, in many ways, he also pushed her away too, just as much as she pulled away from him. Chizuru ghosted Kazuya specifically because of his feelings and feeling unworthy of them. She literally tells Minnie this. She felt guilty about lying. That's why she has a flashback to Kazuya's attempt to confess and Sayuri when Nagomi confronts her. This was regret. Regret she never faced him. Regret that she let it turn into this by running away from Kazuya's feelings. She blamed herself as Kazuya did. Hawaiians didn't need to be this way, but because she was trying to do it in a perfect way, she became the villain in her family's eyes. Much like how readers view her as a villain now. In simple terms, there's no perfect confession. There is only choosing to connect. Kazuya saying they are dating and confessing, Ruka saying it's fine, gave her the opportunity to do what she wanted to do. Permission. One that could be taken away at any time, as we see later Ruka say that she was not okay with it, and Kazuya was hesitant and didn't know how to react. Chizuru felt like she couldn't do anything, and did you notice that when she talked to Kazuya in the room, he didn't even fucking respond? He couldn't speak. He literally doesn't know how to fucking talk anymore. He's literally traumatized. And that's why I say like the 3 months is convincing in that moment, but he's not as powerless as he thinks. He's literally just traumatized. But he had more power than he realized. He was just caught up in trauma. And so that's why, like, in the 3 months, I don't fully blame Kazuya, but he had more autonomy than he thought. He was just, again, trapped in trauma, much like Chizuru was. And that's why Chizuru had to take control in the 3 months. Right. Let's see here. Chizuru felt like she couldn't do things and wanted permission to move because she viewed herself in the same way others did. So she froze. That doesn't make the 3 months right, but it highlights her flawed thinking and how she knew it was flawed. We're ignoring Chizuru's emotional state, and that is my point. She's a human being, and expecting her to constantly act on logic is nonsense. She needs emotional support, that her choices were right, and she had none. Nobody was helping her. All she got was abusers in her corner. Mommy and Ruka screaming at her. She knew what she was doing was wrong, but didn't know how to change. Sound familiar? That's right. It's just like Mommy. I'd be shocked if she wasn't terrified to talk to Kazuya after all that. That's why Minnie is so necessary. She was the friend she desperately needed to call her out. Why do you think she just lets Minnie into her house and if she didn't why do you think she just let Minnie into her house if she didn't care? Why do you think she tells her everything knowing it will all go to Kazuya? That's no accident. It was intentional. Chizuru wants to be seen and heard. She wants support and family. That's the whole point of the birthday arc. Chizuru takes charge of her actions when Minnie speaks to her. She takes responsibility for what she did and apologizes. She recognizes how she wronged Kazuya and how she was wrong. She stepped up, became more active. Kazuya, on the other hand, didn't notice what he himself did wrong. In fact, I'd argue she became the lead character in the whole story. The story literally moved because of her. She did all of the work and then some, used every opportunity she had, let herself be terrified, and even invited him to live with her alongside Minnie. Gave him everything he could ever want to feel comfortable. His own room, a curtain so she doesn't bother him knowing she caused him anxiety, a key to the house. When Minnie locks him out on the first date, Chizuru opens the door to avoid a big misunderstanding right as Kazuya was at a low, visually conveying how she was going out of her way to make her intent clear. She literally reversed to make him comfortable, that he is welcome. She literally reversed how she uses her iconic phrase, "Don't get the wrong idea," from saying, "I didn't mean what I just said," to "These are my real feelings. Please don't misunderstand. I do care." She goes out of her way to constantly make sure his emotional well-being is addressed, while everyone else ignores it in favor of what they want. She never puts him on blast, and when she messes up and notices, she immediately apologizes. Chizuru Omega steps up and takes charge of her life and actions after the 3 months because she can't keep letting others decide her future for her. She can't stay a victim. Even now, I think she's making her own choices knowing full well how it makes her look. Yet despite that, she believes this is the best decision to get the results she wants. Kazuya, in contrast, is falling apart and being used, something Chizuru must realize in order to save him now as he saved her, turning the beast into a prince, rescue him from the secluded castle he lives in, holding on to the rose that continues to wilt, unseen and invisible to even the readers, while she desperately wishes to open her eyes and see him. Something I believe is directly connected to the moon and how, when it's full, it appears like an eye, as if truly illuminating the darkness, or in this case, the beast that is Kazuya, and the love that Chizuru cannot see. Fitting she needs glasses then, and wears a crescent moon to reflect her closed eyes that she wishes to open, to truly see Kazuya and herself. For she does not want to fall in love with his feelings as everyone else does, but with him, with who he is. In creating distance, maybe she thinks she can do that, by be away from the emotions and thus feel them and see him more clearly, than looking at what she's missing, feeling it clearly and thus knowing what she loves. Much like how losing a loved one, you realize what they really meant to you. People think Chizuru will realize that in a way, People think Chizuru will realize it that way, not considering she might have purposely done it exactly like this to try and learn to see her emotions for what they are, accepting loss as she accepts that her family is gone. Accepting, huh? Yes, I'm almost done. Good night. Damn, I'm going for a while. Almost done though. No worries. Okay. Feeling clearly and thus knowing what she loves, much like how losing up her loved one, you realize, yeah, we're there or that. Um, so in losing Kazuya, she might learn what he meant to her. The current arc is almost challenging us to believe even if the dream is flawed, not beautiful like before, accepting the darkness as a part of those characters. That beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. No, we are no now we are the ones who lack faith because we want something magical when love isn't always beautiful but painful. That the pain and sorrow is part of love. To deny it is to deny love, for sorrow defines happiness. Like a relationship, we gotta choose to be with someone, not let anyone else decide. Take charge like Chizuru, to have faith it will work out and that we will get through even with the problems, because they aren't bad. For the existence of a problem means a solution must also exist. That it can be worked on together, not alone. Even if we are the bad guy, that's fine. A direct mirror and continuation of Hawaiians, with the end of Odaiba literally calling back to it in chapter 383. Chizuru accepting her role as the villain if it means she can be Kazuya's hero. Whereas Kazuya must accept he is not the hero, but the great demon king, as the children dubbed him. In so doing, accepting his dream, no matter how flawed it may be. For in seeing darkness, can we define light. Love isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It's all about being willing to share pain with someone because you are not alone. How fitting then that they are now separated and must learn how they need the other in order to truly overcome their struggles. Chizuru is Kazuya's sanctuary that he left, while Chizuru is leaving her sanctuary in order to be with him. This is an exploration of the bad communication trope. It doesn't just exist. It doesn't just exist. It doesn't exist just to exist. Reishi is exploring what the actual intended purpose. Reishi is exploring what the actual intended purpose of it is. At first glance, it seems dumb and stereotypical. But just like with any victim, despite sounding outlandish at first glance, once you dig into it, you see how real it really is. How isolation, loneliness, grief, self doubt, and abuse and depression can really make someone retreat and fear communication because they believe they are unworthy, that they don't deserve the person and may hurt them or lose them again. Just like the person they, just like the person, just like the person they recently lost. That's exactly Kazuya and Chizuru right now. Grief defines so much of Chizuru's unseen struggle and why she acts the way that she does in Hawaiians, just as it does Kazuya. And it's tragic that so many of us don't see an abused girl but an abuser, just as nobody sees Kazuya for the kind person that he is, but a liar and a pathetic loser, or a shitty person. They see a shitty trope that looks all too familiar, when in reality this could be further from the truth. And ironically, like Mommy said, it's just our confirmation bias, something we're so sure we're right about that we can't possibly conceive we are wrong. Right? I hope this opened more people's eyes to the story. Oof, that was long. That was long. And I'm not going to read the comments. I'm not bothering with that. Yep, so I think I'll call it here. I don't think I'll stream tomorrow. I'd like a break. So I think I'm going to take tomorrow off. And then Friday, I'll stream. So tomorrow there will be no stream. I'm going to take tomorrow off. I'm going to go do some stuff. I have some stuff I need to do. I'm going to try to do that from now on. I think I'll stream every other day. I think that sounds a bit reasonable, just to stream every other day rather than every day. Because that would give me like breaks in between, just breaks to like breathe and get adjusted to streaming. Plus, it will make it more regular for you guys. So I think that's a decent goal to have. I hope that works out for you guys. If I do stream, like maybe I'll see if I can get some good ideas going in the meantime. Because I think the next stream I'll try to focus more on the chapter. Right, I'll try to use the time to focus more on the chapter and talk about the chapter a little bit, because I think there's a decent amount I want to talk about regarding the chapter. But for now, have a good night, y'all. For those who are still here, I don't even know if anyone's still here. I don't even know if anyone's still here, but thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys at another time. Have a good day or night wherever you are, and fare